Two Mugs of Tea podcast.
Hello there, welcome to the Two Mugs of Tea podcast lockdown special. I am one of your hosts, Tom, from teams Tauren and Monsoon, and I'm joined by, drum roll please,
Tim Rackers, clearly.
Very good.
It's me.
The big T Rackers.
And just returning from the shitter, it's Mr. Mangles.
Evening, lads.
Yep, we are joined here in episode 2 by Rory Mangles part 2. How are you feeling, Rory?
Pretty good.
You're feeling pretty good.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Gotta get close to the mic.
Get in here.
A little bit closer.
Get closer, Mangles.
There's a
Come on.
toilet roll hanging from your shower.
Oh, shut up.
So, a little update from us. We've just had takeaway.
Traditional.
Peri chicken
Yeah.
from a place called
Beggar.
It was
Beggar.
B-U-R-G-E-R-E.
Burger.
Potential 2021 sponsors.
That could be Burger. If you're
Burger.
looking to sponsor a combat robot team,
Please.
please,
Please, anyone.
good God, please,
Send money.
We need money.
please give us money. Oh my God.
So we're going to continue on from where we left off on the last one, aren't we?
I suppose so. Shall we say how we're doing first?
Yeah, we can.
How are you doing, Tim?
That's quite a question. How are you doing? Tim? Well,
so
because you bought me dinner.
so I guess we've not seen each other for a little while.
I haven't seen you for like 5 months.
5 months.
6 months maybe.
Well,
I saw Rory because
All I've had are the occasional photos from you.
I slept in his fields for a night
You did.
and chopped some wood for his brother. That's
Great.
not a euphemism. That's genuinely what happened.
Oh.
In exchange for meat, which again, not a euphemism.
Tim's had a busy
Good
lockdown.
time.
A very busy lockdown.
I've had a busy lockdown.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah. I've been chilling on the farm, you know.
Yeah.
I would say helping out, but really not. Just working on in my own projects.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's been a good time.
Nuts-
Just moved up to...
Nuts 3 on the way. Yeah, there we go.
no,
There we go.
no.
No.
No robots. But
So
just
from
moved back up to
the
Stafford.
the Tom side of things, me and Sarah had to move house
Yeah, we're in a new house at the moment.
midway through
I've
lockdown.
moved twice.
Oh,
in lockdown.
Tim had to move house twice during lockdown, so that was fun.
I mean, I've only moved between houses I already had.
Rory's
Rory.
he's moved between the farm and me and Sarah's house, and maybe
Stratford. I also have a flat in Stratford that I occasionally visit. It's like a second home at this point.
To water the
Yeah.
plants.
yeah. So, well, I hope all of you at home listening are doing all right.
Yeah. I hope everyone's survived lockdown. It's been a bit crazy, a bit odd.
Tim, when BattleBots?
When BattleBots.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
There you go, folks.
That's
Very accurate.
That's it.
I suppose we should just segue straight into
Yeah.
Series 10.
Yeah. Oh, followed through. And I am starting.
Okay.
So, Rory. So the last time we spoke was about a minute ago, actually. But
Yeah.
the last time we spoke on the podcast,
Was
we
like January or
were
something.
we were learning about your adventures in Series 9 of Robot Wars.
Yep, that was a forgettable
So
incident.
that was a thing.
Oh, and 8. We did 8 as well.
Oh, we also did 8.
We did 8. I think 8 was more heavily covered.
Yeah, nine was one to skip over.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you sort of skipped over the, arena perimeter.
Hey.
Series 9 actually didn't happen.
Yeah, no, except for Tim. Tim had a great series 9. Other than that, no, it didn't really.
So
Series 10.
Last time I remember
Series
being
10.
happy.
Oh, Tim!
No,
No!
I'm joking.
Tragic.
I'm joking.
Series 10.
So-
Roy's a happy person, come on.
Oof. So basically, after Series 9 was not a great time.
Just slight ASMR injection.
Oh, so Tim's holding the mic. Here's a little bit of Tim for you.
It's actually a cup of tea.
Here's a little bit of Tim.
Slurpage.
One of the mugs of tea.
Yeah. So after Series 9, obviously not entirely pleased with how my investment in a large robot was had performed. So
Performance.
took it back to the farm and spent that weekend fixing some of the problems just to try it, because obviously
Why are you giggling, Tim?
Because you are.
both massive boobs.
We're two mugs.
That's why I like it.
We're two mugs of tea. There we go.
So you took it back to the farm
Yes.
to look through the issues you had.
Basically,
Emotional?
There was at least
Oh,
like 5 different mechanical issues, either where just things I hadn't thought through or hadn't finished, or it was a bit rushed.
The important bit being, how many of them did you blame on Alex?
I didn't let Alex do that whole lot on the actual
That's
build of it.
camaraderie there.
He did a lot of the welding,
is-
and the welding did incredibly. The only bit of welding that he did was in the ring. And
Oh.
Matilda hit the ring square on
He hit
and
Alex's
didn't break.
ring.
Square
Yeah.
on.
And
This is a family podcast, Tim. Come on.
yeah,
Pull yourself together.
it's not. It's really not.
It-
I'm sorry to any families
I
out there.
bleeped the swear words last time.
But that was a lot of
this,
effort.
this time is going to be even more effort.
Fuck,
Did
fuck,
you-
fucking
Rory
fuck.
Mangles!
I didn't know you knew those words. Good heavens. man. Oh.
So, yes, so got to spent the next several months just trying to get the robot working. For a change, and pretty much my only time in my robot career, I finished the series with a robot more or less functional. It was a bit bent in places where Matilda gave it a whack, but other than that, it was fine.
Good to go. Buff that
Out
out.
on the
So,
bum. Good
yeah.
to go.
Yeah. So basically, spent the next couple of months
Tim's having spicy tea this evening.
just improving it, and
I'm having.
this time
Tropical.
we because the series 9 we said we had a melty brain and it wasn't ready. It wasn't in the robot. It was just a flaily boy.
Your brain was not melty enough.
Hang on, so there actually wasn't a melty brain in the bot for 9? Oh, is that why they plugged it so hard in 10?
Yeah,
Oh.
because it was supposed to be. We said it was, but it wasn't in the box. It
The
wasn't
silent partner, Gareth, not
Yeah.
being there.
Yeah. So Gareth was there in series.
He had the setting wrong, so Rory was actually spinning around in the box, the driver's box, and he couldn't control it.
That's one of my favourite moments. Is David
David.
at
Mm.
Rory's
Oh, yes.
wassail.
Tell us.
Rory's dancing with this girl.
So wassail is a big party, basically.
Rory's dancing with this girl doing like loops in this farmer dance thing. I don't know what it is.
It's a Kaylee.
Something very country.
It was a
And
Kaylee.
David,
It was a Kaylee dance.
David,
yeah.
myself, and him. On the very rare occasion we're drunk together,
Oh yes.
and leant over and went, "Goodness me, she's stuffed if he starts up the melty brain."
Oh, that's good time.
Anyway,
David,
melty brain.
We love
Yeah.
David.
We love David.
So Gareth Barnaby, an absolute lad.
Big shout out to
Um,
Gareth.
He was in the red waistcoat in Series 9. Sadly, couldn't make it Series 10 because he's in America. These guys are laughing like boobs again because of anything I've said.
I find you to
it's
be
gonna be a long podcast.
Rory,
this
you're
one.
such an entertaining person. I just love you, Rory.
So Gareth, basically during Series 9, I had a month to build the whole robot, and I had to do the build the motor controllers and build the robot. I was like, I need someone to do the melty brain because I do not have the capacity to do the melty brain as well.
The melty
So,
brain.
the only person I know who's better at electronics than me is Gareth Barnaby. And so I was like, well, Gareth, you do robots.
That's why it's got the name, isn't it? That's why it's named Melty Brain.
No, melty
Because
brain.
it melts your brain.
Yes.
Well
sure.
done.
Well
It
done.
wasn't Gareth said to me.
Yes.
I
but
guess that's the idea.
The name of melty brain.
Please tell me that wasn't like a pat me on the head.
Okay.
There, Tim. Here's a little bit of something to keep you busy.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yes,
Melty Brain.
yes,
It's really hard.
It's really hard.
It's really
Yes.
hard for you to understand, but
Right.
It's not very hard if you know like electronics and computers, but most roboteurs are more mechanically
Wait,
minded. So
Rory, for the uninitiated, could you tell us what melty brain?
okay, so
just
back to basics.
Quickly. What does it do in the robot?
In the robot,
I know.
the
Tim
melty
kind
brain.
of knows. He thinks he knows, but you can tell.
I
us.
know what it does.
You think you know. There.
You explain
no.
it.
It
You
spin,
explain it.
It spin. You can
Go on,
spin.
Tom,
you can
answer.
you can spin while
Well
moving.
done, Tom.
You can spin the
Great.
whole. You can spin the whole
Amazing.
robot
Amazing.
while moving in any direction. You can.
It does lots of intermittent braking, doesn't it, to help you
Tim's
then
close,
move.
yeah.
You start and stop motors very quickly, so you can move.
Basically, you've got a
Basically.
gyroscope in there that keeps
Well,
track
you
of how
just-
fast
Basically.
it's
Just
spinning.
describe any vehicle.
Yes.
Starting and stopping
So
motors
you,
to
you
move.
It has a steering wheel on it. And it goes forwards. No,
Got 4 seats and a steering wheel.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This is so hard to follow already. So you've got a bit of electronics in there that
Couple of
controls
bits.
both your motors, or one motor. You can do one motor.
One motor. That's plenty.
That the robot spins, and there's a gyroscope in there to keep track of how fast it's spinning, and every
Did you have the LED on it as well?
we did have the LED, and you can see it just about. in the footage. It was a really bright one white LED. It was blindingly bright. As soon as you put it in the arena, you can barely see it. So once a rotation, it'll flash this LED, and when it's flashing the LED, you can see it in the series. It breaks one of the motors on one side really hard, and that causes the robot to move slightly in that direction. And then as it goes around, the other wheel breaks in that direction. It moves slightly in that direction, and it works really well when you've got a nice grippy surface like concrete. Sadly, as noted later on, the arena floor is not concrete and is very slippery, oil covered. Sheet steel, so
Hugh Hefner's lounge floor.
yeah, grip-based weaponry does not work so well. So basically, during the gap between Series 9 and Series 10, Gareth got the Melted Brain really dialed in. We spent a good couple of weekends with the Melted Brain in the robot doing holo testing and really getting that set up. And we got there's a test video up on my YouTube channel where we destroy a dishwasher. And it's great fun. And I was
still in the house,
just roaming around. And so we have
cutlery flying everywhere.
we basically just get everything in the robot as dialed in as possible, because we haven't got to rebuild the whole new one. So we just go through everything, fix everything that was wrong, fix everything that could go wrong, and just really get confidence in the machine. By the time we left, we'd done so much testing on this robot that we were just like, well, we're entirely confident going in, because always before fights, usually I have like massive nerves. Like, is it going to work? Is it going to break? Is it going to do what I expect it to in the arena? But we've done this is the only time I've ever done enough testing on a robot to be like, of course it works. I know this robot inside out. The only question is how well it's going to work in an actual arena. So on the way up to Series 10, it's me and Alex in the car, robot on the boot. Chris is flying up because he doesn't enjoy the drive and has no need to.
It's got a fantastic wingspan as well.
Sadly,
just ran really fast.
Sadly, Gareth couldn't make it. He had to go to America for a business of trip, a PhD trip of some sort. He was entirely on tech support over Messenger the whole time, but sadly couldn't be there in person. So on the way up to Series 10, somebody leaked to us what our draw was. I don't remember who it was at the time. But basically, whoever was there. Basically, the only way, as I think we mentioned in the last podcast, the only way you ever find out your fights on the way in Robo Wars was somebody who's already there. It's like, we know the draws. Here's what your fight is over Facebook Messenger. It's really official.
Did you tell me?
Yeah, I told you because we were the first robot in and the first robot tech checked.
Yeah,
you were. That's it.
Yeah. So we on our way up, we were about halfway, and somebody messaged Alex and was like, "Okay, so your draw for the first fight is Andron and Concussion," and we're like, "It could be worse." Like, Concussion's pretty scary,
but it's hard to reach.
It's hard to reach. It's a low drum. It could have been Aftershock. It could have been Carbide. Like, we'll take that as a first fight.
Could have been Tauren.
It could have been Tauren. I didn't even know Tauren was back at that point, but
you weren't really.
Don't do this. I was a reserve.
You were reserve.
I was reserved.
There's a good story behind that. But
we'll get to that.
Ooh.
So, when we get there, we just do tech check. It's fairly straightforward because we know the weapon works. I think it's the first time we've actually shown our weapon working in any useful capacity in tech check. We were happy to drive it around and just show it all working. I don't remember much of the beginning of Series 10. I don't remember much of Series 10 in general, actually, unfortunately.
Oh, no, me neither.
We just had to rewatch bits of the episode before this just to kind of remember what happened in it, because it's all a bit of a blur. Previous series, I remember all the details, but I don't really remember turning up to Series 10. I remember bits of the tech check and trying to just, make sure the Melted Brain and all this that's working. Trying to demonstrate to Noel Sharkey what a Melted Brain is. I think still to this day he doesn't believe a Melted Brain.
Did you melt his brain?
We almost at some point in the series, I'll mention it now because I can't remember which fight it is, but at one point we almost got counted out because he assumed it wasn't moving, so the Melted Brain was so slow.
Yeah. Well, it's quite an odd sort of concept.
Yeah.
To someone, I suppose, who's been used to seeing various sort of boxed formed things.
Yeah, and especially
with
when it's-
4 wheels moving around.
Especially when it moves so damn slow, it's barely perceptible.
Just
Which fight was that?
I don't know. I think it was
when
our
you were
last one.
spinning.
Yeah, it was our last one.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll get to that.
I mean, I've defined it there when you were spinning.
Yeah,
I
when I
made
was
that
spinning.
very
The
clear.
one
where he was
that one
spinning.
time,
The
that
one time you
span.
were spinning, yeah.
So,
Oh,
okay.
I'm out.
Tom's got to get another
Tom,
drink.
put your zipper up.
No.
So,
Smirnoff number 21 vodka.
Tom's a mad lad and is on the beers.
I'm a mad lad. So, fun fact.
Tim's on a health kick and just having tea.
I don't
Yeah.
actually like the taste of beer.
Yeah, Tom is not a beer
ASMR.
drinker. You can't ASMR vodka.
Yeah, you can. I'm having this. I'm not just having that straight up. I'm having it with
Some squash.
no tropical blast, zero sugar,
Fake lilt.
pineapple and grapefruit,
Fake lilt.
with no artificial flavours, Tim.
You're
Fake
so
Unlike
middle,
you.
so middle class.
I don't know artificial flavours.
No, you don't. No. I take that. I actually take that back.
This gravy's all natural.
So
Anyway,
Where
so
were we? Okay.
Let's zip forward.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I
get
think
that
that
all
went-
on the mic.
I think
Yeah.
it went on the mic.
Good job.
Thank you.
Good job.
So we had a fight at some point.
My tech check. How did that go?
Check. That was
Main arena?
fine.
Rory did.
No, it wasn't
Rory
mainly-
did Tim's tech check actually.
We took the
Yes, he did.
flails off because nuts flails are removable for testing. So we took the flails off. We checked it.
Rory took his flavour off.
Chucked it in the test arena. Just buzzed around, just checking the melted brain work, all the switches. There's on the transmitter. There's two
Buttons.
modes. So there's forwards, backwards, left, and right
Two.
for your normal driving.
There are actually two sticks.
And then
as well,
just
Tim.
buttons.
Yeah,
There's
just it's a Wiimote.
There's a switch in the top right corner that switches between melted brain mode and normal driving mode.
Yep.
And when you flick the switch, then the throttle on the right hand side becomes the spin up rate. So you throttle up, and then you have forwards and backwards to move the robot forwards and backwards.
Cool.
And then left and right moves the rotation of the LED. So there's a flashing LED on the top that shows you which way you're pointing. And so if you go left, it moves that LED left, etc. So we were just checking all the different modes, all working, all that's reliable. Fun fact: in the robot during testing, there was we were spinning up and the whole thing shut down. I'm like, what's going on there? There's a little reset switch on the melted brain
Was it
board,
centrifugally triggered?
and the melted brain board was pointing inwards. And as you spun up
It
to a certain
forced
point,
the switch out.
Yeah.
forced the switch in
Oh.
and reset the control on that.
Yeah.
So it shut down.
Crazy.
Another fun addition to the multi-brain board between Series 9 and 10 was a couple of optical isolates between the two motor controllers. And that's because in Series 9, only one of our wheels worked. And that turned out to be because there was one receiver
Yeah.
and one long cable going between both motor controllers. And a single ground plane going between both motor controllers because
Yeah,
that cut
interference.
so
That's
that's
a
a horrible,
strange,
horrible grounding system in that. So what the controller on the really long wire,
It's a
this was
weird-
getting no signal.
It's a weird tactical decision there, Rory.
Yeah. So thank you, Tom, for your
Good
input.
input there, Tom.
Thank
Very
you,
strange.
electronic engineer
I
there.
don't think I
Well,
would
that's
have done
why, it's
that.
why
Yeah.
when you do any sort of RS-232 or RF interface cabling, that you only ever ground one side of the cable.
Yeah, and we only had one ground, but it was drawing like
I would
like
go on
100
two
amps,
wheels.
and 100 amps was grounding out the 3.3 volt signal.
That's why I'm mechanical.
But Tom is an electronic engineer now. Did
Oh, wait,
you know?
did we not tell them that in the last podcast?
No, we didn't. We didn't mention it.
Tom is now.
So since the last podcast, in December of last year, Rory assisted, I suppose, in getting me a job. So I'm no longer.
I bullied Tom into giving me his CV.
Rory
Took him to a halfway home.
Rory bullied me into a better job, I suppose. And I'm no longer a games tester. I am a design engineer at an electronics firm
with me.
with the Rory Mangles. So
Rory left
so-
the company we were at together.
Yes.
oh, he did.
So I have worked with Tim. I now work with Tom.
Rory left him. He left him for a better man, I think. Really.
I left him for a better job. I'm sorry, Tim.
And where I am is you weren't being utilised.
There we go.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm no longer a games tester.
He is a mechanical design engineer.
I do.
He
But
does
still
have-
quintessentially a boob.
He is a massive.
Oh,
boob.
always with you. So.
Yes.
And boobs come in pairs.
Boobs always coming first. So weirdly enough, that's the thing. There's proof. I mean, the knowledge from robots was
I'm so sorry for trying to follow
Robots.
a coherent
Were-
thread in this podcast.
the knowledge from robots. No, the The robots from
That's why people listen for coherent,
the knowledge,
factual information.
the knowledge from what I learned in robots, the engineering, the design, or everything, helped me get the job at my current place.
It happens. It does happen.
It really.
Yeah.
It
You
happens.
just need to know a Rory.
I didn't think it would happen. You need a Rory.
Well, you do need someone to vouch you. Because no one
do.
running a company would be like, oh yeah, sure, come on in and do it. You do need some sort
you do have
of...
Drizzle.
You need an in.
Oh, yeah. I went to the interview with Drizzle, like in my bag, not in my bag, in a box, along with my one the Tim Rackers experience, and yeah,
The Tim Rackers.
and I've been there since December.
Fun fact: my boss is also from Robot Wars.
He is. What was his robot?
Hardvark.
It was Hardvark.
Hardback.
Hardvark. Big cutting.
I'll get him to
blades.
Robo Nerd one day.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and we took in the new Monsoon into work a while ago to do some testing in a place around the back, and they were very interested.
Well, I mean, it's an engineering company, and where you turn it for the
exactly.
robots, they're not going to go.
We made
nah,
we
you know
made
what? You know what? That's dull.
It was good. It was good. It was good.
Anyway, where were we on the old Robot Wars crap?
You were talking about the Switch
Yeah,
reset.
testing. And so we were doing tech check, and tech check was pretty much a breeze this time because previous Series 9 was absolutely terrifying. You know, we were like, we don't want to blow up. We'll just, show motors move on the bench, and that's enough.
Well, here we go.
So yeah, Series 9 we were terrified because the controller blew up the night before. This time we had months of testing, and we just were like, yeah, sure, just send us through tech check, and so we can get back to the bar.
Very serious podcast.
And so yeah, we just more or less set up
Nice
this
and easy.
podcast.
Back to the bar.
Yeah, back to the
Couple
bar.
cold ones.
Plenty of drinks, and then we're like, right, concussion in the morning. What's the strategy
A
here?
lot of drinks though.
A lot of drinks, yeah. So what we'd noticed and may have measured that Concussion's wheels are slightly exposed at the top, and were also Nuts' ring has two positions: a kind of mid-high height and a lower height that you can lower the ring to reach lower opponents. And obviously, Concussion being as it is quite a low robot, but with
The highest bits being
being exposed.
Most
Which
easy
most
to take
exposed,
out.
yeah.
To be fair, in most robots, that's the case. Your armor low. Most people can't reach that, and it's entirely reasonable to armor like that.
And we built Concussion to have its centre of gravity below
Yes,
the centre of the wheelbase, so that
Which
it's
is-
really sturdy on the ground. And you
Yeah.
see that against other drum bots, it doesn't suddenly rear up. It's not because the speed isn't there.
That's
It
it.
gets to 7,500. It's the fact that
yeah, and if
the whole weight is below the axle.
they covered their wheels like all the way up, they wouldn't have been able to self-ride. in the
Oh,
last
shots
fight.
fired. Flails fired.
It was 2-0 polycarbonate.
And yet it still didn't let you
The wheel was
self-ride.
shagged anyway.
So yes, we lowered the ring.
It is
For context, this series is basically where all of us kind of met properly for the first time.
Yeah.
We've covered-
Because you were definitely about our table in the first series, but the first series I really struggled to really. I think I only
I mean,
talked
you were the
Craig,
other end of
Danby and Tom.
You were the
That
other
was
end of the
about
pits, and all I did was come over and insult the fact you were using Vipers on the weapon.
You
And
were
that was
the
about it.
first-
Back was ridiculous.
You were the first team I met, Tim. I think I said that in the previous podcast, but yeah, you guys and Mr. Speed Squared were the first teams I met.
And then
Actually,
then I
Rory,
fixed your robot for you before I even knew you.
no, irrelevant. Old podcast.
And the theme continued.
And the theme continued.
Fake
And
news.
here I
Fake
am.
news, Rory.
Fake
Fake
news.
news.
I think every time I've seen any robot of yours being repaired, there's been a mangle involved.
Fun fact: I spent the days fixing Tom's robot, and then he blew it up again.
No, you
know.
haven't. Which robot?
I had to be Drizzle, not Drizzle.
Drizzle?
Straddle.
Oh, Straddle. Oh, spoiler alert, I'm making a new Straddle.
Who'd have
Blew up
thought?
a vest.
Could you say that slightly more butchly, please?
I blew up a Straddle.
Anybody fancy another strategy?
Lads.
No.
But yes. So, where were we?
Okay,
Robots.
so
Yeah,
we're
what's
through
happening?
tech check.
Yeah.
We were talking about how we all spoke and we met.
Yeah.
Me and Tom have grown quite fond of each other since the last series. We chatted quite a bit.
Oh, I suppose.
But you were through.
Yeah.
Like I said, me and Sam and Carl and Nick turned up early. We got tech check straight away.
Yeah.
Nice and easy. We went down the list, checked everything. Happy days. We were straight in.
Tom was also there.
Don't look at me like that.
But
Don't
Tom,
do
you're a
this.
reserve.
I was reserved, so Series 9 came and went briefly. That was fun. That was my first ever robot. Series 10 we applied, we got in as reserve. Which I remember on the phone, I think I was God, maybe a bit rude to the guy that called me. I was like, what, really? Reserve?
Well, that's what I did with Series
Yeah.
9, and I talked
Yeah,
them
yeah.
into letting us in.
I was quite disheartened at the time, but we built it. We'd already built it. That was the thing. That was what I was quite surprised about, because we had already built the whole thing and had it tested. We were determined. Me and my dad were determined to get on and prove that it was going to work this time. You know, and then
you were right next to us, because we were in the
We
corner
were.
of the pits,
We were.
and that's where the reserves were.
yeah. So we went
Is it
chonky boy. So we were reserved next to Hobgoblin in the reserves
Yes.
pit.
Oh yeah.
Harry Hill's a lad.
Yeah, no, great guys. So yeah, we were reserves, and we were not the first reserve in. I believe who was the first one in?
A hard point, wasn't it, or break point?
No,
No, the first
were out.
reserve in. The first it was Hobgoblin.
No,
It was Coyote.
Coyote. that's
Coyote went in.
right. Sorry,
and
Jamie, I forgot the name of it.
Coyote went in, and I believe they replaced Deadlock.
Which
when they
turned
were
up
there.
very unfinished.
It wasn't. I guess it wasn't.
I'm pulling no punches there, because
But
the
I'm-
first time I met Mr. Kaplinski, he looked at Concussion and went,
Kaplinski.
"Oh, you haven't changed anything." I was like,
Whoa.
"Oh, good. Thank you for that."
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Rob. Deadlock's never going to work.
Rob. No, we love Rob. We love you, Rob.
But it has won a couple of fights.
Ignore him. So ignore them, Rob. You're lovely. You're a lovely human. Keep at it. You'll get Deadlock going. Eventually.
You're in the top 3 gingers who do this.
So we were there as a reserve. Deadlock had hopped in. No, Coyote had hopped in for Deadlock. And they like to do like for like replacements. So they replaced a grabber for a grabber. And
Fair.
in my case, they replaced Triforce, which was a spinner, with
Oh my
Tauren.
god. The Triforce, like, it looked really cool.
It looked fantastic.
But you know when somebody just makes something a bit too overcomplicated, and you think there's
Yes,
too many things.
yes,
that
I
might
do.
fail.
Yes, I do, Ewan. You do that all the time still.
For something that's going to take a lot of shock from a lot of
Triforce.
sources, to have so many potential points of failure is you don't know though, and we did something very similar in the fact you go from an
Yes.
engineering point of view, you go, oh, this can have all these things in. What you don't realise is there's someone with a pair of steel toe caps, kicking the crap out of it,
Yeah.
and it's going to be shaken down like you wouldn't believe. Throw it on a landmine kind of.
It's the
thing.
kind of thing you only know through experience. Like,
completely.
you get a lot of first-time builders coming into the sport making so many of the little mistakes that you just know you shouldn't do.
It's when you see
And-
people use house wiring equipment that's made
Yeah,
of
yeah,
very
yeah,
brittle plastic.
Yeah.
And they get hit in the arena and just shatters. They're like,
Yes.
oh, couldn't see that one coming.
We were reserves replacing Triforce. Beautiful robot, and I would love to see that thing
That
running
was,
one day.
That was to the tooth. I remember that because we'd all checked in. We were on the seating, and
Yeah.
like the walkway in. You were down there because you were watching Triforce to see if it would spin,
It's
and
a
you were waiting.
It's a weird it's a weird feeling being a reserve watching someone, because you don't want them to fail tech.
You
and
weren't the first choice to be the replacement for them either.
Was I not?
Do you remember I had an argument with the staff?
Who was it? Hobgoblin?
I can't remember who it was, but it wasn't you. And I said, Tom's been here for ages. He's ready to go. Why isn't he in this? I was like, why isn't it in this? You haven't got a vertical spin. That first day, I was so aggy because I had some pretty serious stuff going, pretty life-changing stuff going on back at home.
I suppose.
I had to have my phone taken off me because I was getting harassed. So, I was proper stressed out. I asked, me and Sam even snapped at each other that morning about something stupid, like a prop. They wanted me to. They were building me up to be the bad guy for this series.
They were.
They tried to give me like a tool, a weapon, or a
Oh,
boxing
for sure.
glove or something. And we're like, no, we're not
A boxing
gimmick.
glove.
Oh, they tried to give me loads. Yeah, because I'm the finesse of a boxer. I've got the physique of a boxer. Anyway, they tried to make me the villain, and they did this whole time. And that first bit, I had an argument. I can't remember the guy's name, but he had curly hair. And he was like, oh, no, I don't think it's Tauren next. I was like, why not? He's ready to go. Like, Tom is ready to go.
Oh,
Come on, give him a go. Like, and you were there when I was having...
I remember.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we were watching you, weren't we? You were queued up ready to do your tech check, your spin-up test in the arena.
Yeah, they
And something didn't work.
Yeah, so for Tauren, they put us in the main arena along with Apex and Carbide, and
It's because you had a heavier weapon.
it's because we had the big. They were too. It was too powerful. Too powerful for the main
It's an
arena.
E-tech.
No, it was a big.
We saw
powerful
what it could
spinner.
do a couple of years later.
Exactly.
Oh, that's another. What is this? The third fun fact. Third fun fact: the weapon system. That's the motor and the bar in
And the
Tauren,
drive system.
and the drive system in Tauren 2 is the exact
Yeah,
same that went into Monsoon Mark 1, aka Tauren
3.
maybe. No, irrelevant. Fake news. Fake news.
But something went wrong with the link. something wasn't connected properly. Do you remember? And
Oh, with Tauren! Oh my!
you came up
Oh,
to me in the
no.
stand like, Tim, can you have a look? And I jumped over the side of the stand rather than walking
When
down
I
the
went,
stairs.
I was kind of bricking it when I went to. I was like, not again, Tim.
Tim, please.
Tim,
It was something really. I think
Tim,
it was just
please.
one of the crimps wasn't seated properly or
It
something.
was.
And that was all it was.
We were
wasn't it?
using an extension, an RC
That was
extension
it.
lead
That
for
was
the
it.
A classic.
for the weapon to the receiver, and it had come out when we put the batteries in.
That was all it was. Yeah. It
So
took us about 5 minutes to find
we
it.
unbolted everything and took out the batteries, and I was just. Oh,
I was mainly
I
there
can't
to keep
even
you
describe.
calm,
I
wasn't
can't.
I, really?
I can't even describe the feeling. It was.
This whole series is somewhat PTSD for Tom,
Oh,
hence
yeah.
the vodka.
Oh, that's the thing. We watched. We were watching it earlier on YouTube, and
I may have had to skip the fights
we
for Tom.
skipped my fights, and I got the Smurf.
Still, your losing fights is not as cringy as some of the nonsense they edited for me. It just makes you feel like a
The
maniac.
nonsense. It's yeah.
Ugh.
So
I have ways of getting what I want. It just sounds awful.
Oh.
so yeah.
Sounds-
As I was saying with Triforce, I was watching them doing their testing, and it was. I've got to say, it's a horrible feeling. You know, you don't want someone to fail tech check because they've gone through all the same crap
Months
as you
of
to
work,
get there,
yeah.
all the same amount of work to get there, and for it to not work as you expect is horrible. And I feel I feel bad for them.
I mean, they
Of
put
course
a
they do.
lot of effort in.
Absolutely, 100%,
It's not
100%.
working, you know.
They will one day. They will one day.
Rory.
But of
Rory
course,
bitch magnets.
but of course, I was happy to go in, and maybe it was a twist of fate to go in again with my mates. But
Yes,
it
essentially
was,
by the end of all this palaver, we were all on the pit tables next to each other.
we were all
One
together,
little corner,
and
yeah.
there we go.
The memes continue to this
The
day.
memes continue to this day.
And what is Tauren doing? Hello, Tauren! What are you doing? Not a lot.
So here we are in Series 10 with Rory, going into his first fight. How... Oh, ASMR.
Oh yeah.
What are you opening there, Rory?
Oh.
It's just a Moretti.
Moretti. Oh my goodness, what a mad lad. Absolute mad lad. So, your first fight in Series 10, take us through what happened.
So, we had Tim with Concussion, and we had Andron
I was
4000.
just lying on the floor, not moving.
There he was!
So Andron 4000, we were like, well, you know, they could grab us.
It's a fearsome robot, that's
It's
really.
you know we've got
yeah.
quite an easily grabbable ring.
I would say it's grabbable, but there's not
It'd be
much...
more of a control feature, wouldn't it?
Yeah, there's not much to crush on nuts unless you get to the centre.
Yeah, we're fair.
Unless you got them really,
Rory's nuts.
really
You've
in the
got
palm
a-
of your hand. There's not much to...
We were quite confident that we were, you know, he could have grabbed us and dragged us around.
Grab those nuts,
But,
drag them around.
We weren't too worried about Concussion. Yeah, it was a little more of a risk. You know, we were worried he was going to get our wheels.
I was so disappointed when I saw you lower the ring. I was so... my heart sank. I was like, oh no, I knew exactly what he's doing.
So
I
did
mean-
you measure his wheels first? Or?
I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure I probably did.
Excellent. Good.
I mean, he was on the pit table next to me. He
Yeah.
was off doing things. We had a ruler for
I'm
that
pretty
reason.
sure I gave Alex some abuse about it. I think
Yeah.
I blamed Alex.
Yeah, because we had the brushless minibot for this series with the camera on board. We had the upgraded minibot.
Well, that was cool.
Was that the one in the transmitter, the camera?
Yeah, yeah. So I had the
He was in the
transmitter on
arena actually, Tim.
So Alex,
Tit.
Continue. Rory,
Alex had
continue.
built a brushless minibot because the minibots from last series had more or less pretty much survived fine and pretty solid. So those were upgraded. So we had the red minibot and the
From
brushless
each
minibot
individual
and
colour.
a blue minibot. Was it blue minibot or was
Blue
it white minibot? I don't even remember.
The colour of
We had
monster.
3 minibots. And yeah, so I think our plan for this was just to try and show that the robot worked.
Good plan.
Yeah.
Good.
We weren't really aiming for anything in terms of the outcome. We just wanted to show off what the robot could do. After Series 9, where we'd spent so much time trying to make this thing spin and melt around and it completely failed. I just wanted to show that the concept could work, and just generally, get the flails out, get them to do something. So the fight starts, and I spin up, and Concussion spins up, and Andron does its thing.
Spins up his claw.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nuts is struggling to get around the arena. The multi-brain system works, as I mentioned, much better on concrete than it does on a metal floor. And we had quite a conservative program in there because we didn't want it we're like, well, we know it works on this program. Gareth had written a new bit of code that was a bit more aggressive.
Yep.
We were like, well, we're not going to use that if we don't have to for the first
You
fight.
don't push it too hard.
Yeah,
first
exactly.
appearance, yeah.
You basically, we've done all the testing on this first bit of code, and we're like, well, we know it works. We've got this other more aggressive one, but we don't want to use that and break it in the first fight.
We fell foul of that too, so we didn't want to over tighten our belts because we had an adjustable adjustable tension.
Yeah, because you were on a contactor this year.
Yeah, it was on a contactor.
Mm-hmm.
2 F series amplos. Yeah,
You were on Vipers the first year.
that was a good choice.
They're
I mean, they were fine.
They were great.
They worked.
Yeah, for a bit.
good for drive. Weapon?
We just didn't know contactor would be better.
No, that's the thing.
On a like one-sided tooth, we had a two-way drum.
Well, that's the thing. Again, your first robot, you don't know these sort of things.
Yeah.
You just don't.
But just like you, we didn't go full ham in the first fight just to make sure we had something.
Yeah. So because for this series is the first series where you're guaranteed 2 fights. Every previous series, if you had lost the first fight, you were gone. Even if the slightest mistake.
How nerve-wracking was that? The first time we appeared.
Yes. Oh, I know. I was there, Tim.
Yeah.
Like outcome aside, going up to that, knowing that was your on shot is horrible, isn't it? Just the feeling.
Yes.
You feel sick.
Because your first fight, most of the time, it's the first time you've had your robot. You've just finished building it. You don't know how it's going to go.
Yeah.
You have even one mistake in the whole design. Even if it's like a 1 minute fix,
or something in the floor catches you,
or it's
anything.
But after your first fight, it's so easy to just go, I just quickly fix that one thing, and we're back in for the next fight, and we're good to go.
Yeah, like it can be honestly quite painful when you test your robot and it works, and then you get there, and on the day something happens, and then you get a lot of people on say Reddit or whatever commenting on how crappy your robot is. And
Keyboard warriors.
It's the armchair engineers, and I know you're listening. I know you're there, Mr. Tauren man. You know what? It worked the night before, and then it didn't.
Yeah. So you have basically Series 10 was the first series where
we believe
they changed up the format, and it was generally much better. They had a lot fewer robots this year. I think it was only 30 down from 40 or something.
I have no idea.
It was something like that. It was a lot fewer, but
I mean, it was a few years ago now. That's sad, isn't it?
yeah.
Tim
looks so young. Tim looks so young in that picture.
Tim.
Oh my god! I've moved like 7 or 8 times.
Tim went in as a boy and is now a man. I think is what you would say.
Tom is still a boy.
I'm
a man. Still fresh faced.
If you don't think I'm a man, you can go to another team for BattleBots because you're both suckers for Monsoon. There you go. Boom.
I've got options.
You have no options, right?
I've got options. Crying at home would be the other.
Oh, Tim, you're always welcome to come cry on Team Monsoon. It's okay.
Yell at Team Monsoon.
Yell.
So first fight halfway through. I've spun up. Not really doing a whole lot because the melted brain, just trying to see if it does something.
Rory just spinning in the box.
The mini bots are going
Dara's
off.
like, what are you doing, Rory?
Mini bots go off, but they're not doing a whole lot in this fight.
So Dara's
Scottish now. What are you doing, Rory?
Give me a baby.
I want your nuts.
What was that?
So this series was great because this was the first series that Dara's like, hi Rory, good to see you. I was like, he knows my name.
Senpai
I'm a
noticed
known
me.
person. So the fight had started. We'd spun up. Tim had spun up. Andrew had gone in, and we were still sat there. And Carl, in his wisdom, gets a grazing blow on nuts.
I think we twang Andrew early on, but only just the tip of the fork.
You just got a little nudge on the tip. And then
Tom's gone, by the way, everyone.
Carl drives past, and we get due to the wingspan of nuts, we get a blow on the side. And
it's like the first fight in BattleBots. Do you remember?
Please do.
Yeah, Tom's
you remember?
lost the plot. Yeah.
Oh no! I'm so sorry.
Sorry. Come on.
Come
on. This is
so,
a serious podcast.
Nuts gets the famous shot of hitting Concussion.
You got it so perfectly
Perfect
in the
in the
middle.
wheel.
The thing was, it wasn't
Beautiful.
just the wheel you got there. The whole mounting bearing, the whole bulkhead for the mounting bearing, just gone. You just absolutely rinsed it.
Did you use cast bearings, perchance?
No,
Oh, is it not?
we
No.
used a version of lighter than that.
Oh,
like
yes.
maybe
Yes.
composite
Yes.
mounted.
That's good.
Terrible choice.
I remember
Again,
not surviving.
Again, like something you learn quite quickly.
It's your second bot, Tim. You
Again.
should know by now. But yes, because
Don't you look at me.
Don't you?
I
oof
know
me.
my- I know my
Don't-
mistakes.
Don't you dare oof me.
My first robot sucked. I know this. I cry every night. Continue, Rory.
Yeah, so we get a blow on Concussion
get
that takes
it.
out the wheel, and say, "Oh, that was unexpected." Sure, we'll carry on. And basically, Andrew and Concussion do their thing, and great.
Well, I mean, we weren't particularly very mobile, but they grabbed us and then didn't let go after the allotted time that they're meant to. In the
I'm not sure they could
mornings.
let go. I think that was what they had established fairly early on. As
I mean, I
fairly
know why it
miserable.
happened, and I'm not a big fusser about it,
I-
but it
Tim,
was a
I-
little bit. Like,
I think
eh.
hand on heart, Tim. I think it should have been an unstick.
Even if it was, we weren't on top in that
They
fight
should've-
anyway.
You were doing
Like,
I mean-
we were having. Even if that had happened, in my mind, we were still going.
I mean, you weren't
right?
up to that point, but what's to say that if they hadn't resumed the fight, you might
You would
have...
still be on one wheel.
Yeah,
It
it
would
would
be
be
great
one
start.
wheel.
Both other robots.
Oh,
were.
okay.
By that point, we were on one wheel.
But we would have known.
But then, completely immobile, being counted out, Rory and Alex.
Against Rory's-
Alex instigates you guys going in and just welting and welting and welting
because
and
it
welting
wasn't
on
doing
one point.
like Nuts' flails don't do anything against an armored robot. So we're like, well, we might as well put on a show, show the robot.
the
melting
mighty
brains.
3 mil
A
ray.
3 mil armored
We didn't
robot.
know that. It's not our fault.
Did you want
We
to...
bought a sheet of it for the first one, so we had to use it up on the second.
So the
When you went in, Rory, did you think that the weapon would really not have done anything? Or...
no, we just wanted to show that the melting brain worked because
It's,
the rest,
it's a loud showpiece.
the
isn't
rest,
it?
basically the rest of the
Like I am on
rest of the fight.
Tim! No, you're a core-ish member of Team Monster.
Founding father, I think.
Founding
we're fine.
father. You're like a father to us all.
So yeah, because we hadn't really shown the melted brain really doing anything in this fight. We'd just been sat there, Carl had driven into us, and that was about it. So we're like, right, well, we're going
Big shout out to Carl, the
I want to-
expert driver.
I want to show that the melted brain does work. So we just sat while both robots were totally immobile. It's like, look, I can prove that it moves very slowly into the other robots.
Yep. And you did
get some hits,
you did very
and
slowly.
then go back into for more.
at a snail's pace.
At a snail's pace, at a speed
It
of
still counts.
I calculated it as 0.1 meters per second. 10 seconds to do a meter.
That's
It was
about
good
the
time.
pace of an average snail. I would
It was
say,
not
yeah,
fast.
yeah.
It's about the pace of Tom before 10 o'clock in the morning.
But basically, the whole
You have a point.
the
You
whole
have a
fight
point.
had been a bit of a clusterfuck because obviously the way it ended up with the two robots stuck together, we're like, is this how it? Have we won?
We weren't
Are
on
we gonna
top.
get stuck?
I mean, I'm not
know.
like, oh, if we were free, we would have won. We were
Yeah.
battered at that point.
But we didn't know what was happening, whether it was going to be unstuck, whether it was going to be started, and Robot Wars had a habit of playing a little fast and loose with the rules occasionally. So they was like, you know what, Nuts was functioning, the others two weren't. We'll just say
Yeah, I
So-
mean, clearly you were the most.
there wasn't a whole lot more TV to get out of it had they unstuck them.
So when they called cease, you honestly had no idea what the outcome was.
I mean, we're like, we've never really won a fight. I mean, we did okay, but are they gonna, we're not gonna say,
Yeah.
we didn't think we'd. We've never really said this. Like, oh yes, we definitely won that because it's nuts. It's kind of not meant to be that sort of robot. But we're like, well,
you've got the same drive motors as Thor in there. You've got some power in there. It's
yeah.
not
I mean,
like it's...
we copied Craig Colliers. I mean, there's no better way to start your robot really than
Well,
going for
that's
Colliers,
where I
but,
got the electronics for Tauren. It was copying Tombstone and Carbide, I think,
yeah.
and a few others really.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to build a robot in a hurry, you kind of can't really reinvent the wheel for it. Otherwise, you're not going to.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll have a moving firework that
Yes.
somehow wins an episode.
Yeah. So yeah, we went to that end of that fight, and apparently we won it.
Congrats.
In hindsight, obviously,
Good job.
fair enough. But yeah, it was having done 3 series of Robot Wars, this was our first win. which was
Oh, it was.
appreciated. Yes.
Oh, congratulations, Rory.
As Dara points out,
From the view of the audience, though, every time you're in the arena, it's a win. They absolutely love.
It was
from
hilarious.
having been in the audience
Oh,
while
that
Nuts
was-
is in there. They absolutely love them.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Nice. That was a gem from
there's a little bit of like glee in everyone's eye. You see like a row of people just shouting nuts violently
I'm-
into a plastic box.
Almost as good as people shouting "Spank the monkey" at Insomnia.
That was so
don't.
funny. That was beautiful. We'll have to cover Insomnia. At some
Oh
point.
yes.
well, but one of the things I'm quite proud of is that the most, or basically everyone's fights have been clipped by one of the YouTubers, and the most viewed of any of them is Nuts 2's fights. It's a very proud moment for me.
Rory, put your trousers back on.
Melty braining his nuts.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So
Whoa!
yeah, after that fight, we had a bit of time to wait because obviously winning that fight puts us through to the.
Oh yeah, you get past.
Must
The
have been a
pass
good
straight.
feeling.
Yeah, it was great, but you didn't have a lot to do, and so we're like,
Well, we had a lot to do.
yeah, because the thing is, Nuts came out of that fight, with no work to do other than charging the batteries because
No work to do on Rory's nuts.
So we had
His
pretty
nuts came
much.
out clean.
They came.
Oof.
Oh
We had
no.
pretty much a day or not after the next fight. Pretty much a day or two to do
Oh no.
to do sod all. So I think went round helping other teams.
Mm.
I helped a lot more teams in Series 9 than Series 10 because I had a lot less to do in the series.
Well, next fight.
Yeah.
Oh well, my fight was the first one. We've already skipped mine.
We skipped it.
Yeah, we skipped. I mean,
We're just skipping it. You
I
don't
mean-
want to say anything.
do the listeners want to know about my fight? Rory's the guest.
Just go on. Come on.
Okay, so with my fight, I had Iron Ore and the Kegs. Going into that fight, I suspected that we were probably the nastier robot there, and I think we were. Coming out of it, we were.
But, wasn't it working in the test box? I don't know.
Yeah, so Iron Ore, for the whole duration of the series, didn't flip once, which arguably, I'm salty. It goes against the active weapon rules.
I mean, Nuts. This is the first series that Nuts had an active weapon at all, so I'm not.
I know you had
Well-
the 50-60 ring.
That
before.
never worked.
Yeah.
We
So
took that off the first fight. We had never an active.
Iron Ore worked in the test box. I must admit, I didn't see it in the test box, but I've been told that it did work, which is fine. I'm sure it. It's Iron Ore. Of course, it worked. It worked. Yeah. So for some reason, in our fight, it just didn't seem to want to flip. Maybe there was some RC into
They found
some
out
issues. What?
the hairline crack on one of the pipes, and it was just freezing up. By the time it got from the bench to the arena,
Oh,
it
of course.
froze up.
That's the thing with these kind of fights. You
Don't have to.
don't have that. Yeah. There's
Well,
no
also,
time.
it's a long time between filling up with gas.
It's a very long. It's a very long
Unlike
time.
the test arena.
You fill up the flipper with the gas. You take it to the arena. You leave it there for maybe 10 or 15 minutes, and then the fight starts.
Yeah.
And by then the pipes have frozen up.
Yeah, if you have any leaks, you're
guess.
kind of screwed.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. So they maybe would have had one flip in that fight, but it just didn't happen. So we went into that fight thinking I was convinced that we were the scary one, and I think we were.
Your stance in the box said so.
My stance,
You looked
wide feet.
confident before
Yeah.
the fight.
I think I felt happy because I knew that it was a lot better than the first one. Or at least I hoped it was. So we went to this fight and we went straight for the Kegs because they were, I would have thought, the other nasty robot.
They had spinners.
I mean, they were small, but they had,
Get
it was
weird.
like, they were like 10 kilos, those spinners. That would have done something. And it did. There's a hit where they catch our side and it takes a gash out of the side and it goes straight through the armour. Like, I mean, jokes aside, a 10-kilogram lump of steel spinning is going to do something. Same thing with Nuts with the flails. It's going to do something when it hits,
Yeah, 2 kilos against Rex.
Well, it will. It will. It really will.
If you hit
It's,
them 3,000 times in the same spot.
Yeah, we went to that fight. I'm very happy that we sent the Kegs flying. That was great. We sent one of the bars towards their box.
Oh, the presenter's box.
Yeah,
Oh,
sorry,
yeah.
towards the presenter's box, and you can see the reaction. Just Angela just going, "Whoa, what was that?" So that was fun.
Obliterated.
And from then on, I was a bit. I don't know what was going on in my mind. I was a bit amazed at what was happening.
You got into it.
I got very into
You
it.
definitely got into
I
it.
got very into it. And then once I realised that Iron Ore wasn't firing its flipper, I thought, oh, this is our fight to lose. How could we possibly lose this fight?
Yeah.
And then I don't know what else to say. It just we caused a lot of debris from
I think
their.
there was a chain somewhere on the
It
floor.
was. So they had these
cannons.
anti-spinner.
Entanglement
It wasn't
cannons.
It wasn't cannons. It was these anti-spinner lengths of
yes.
rope housed in plastic tubing on the sides of the robot on Ivor.
Yeah.
So when you hit them, you destroy the pipe and you catch the rope into your blade. And we just chewed those up and destroyed them, but we destroyed them too well
They're
and caused a lot of
tackle, yeah.
debris.
Yeah.
So there was a point in the fight where we hit them, we reversed off their flipper, and got stuck on some debris. And I honestly don't know what was happening in my mind. I was convinced that, oh, we're stuck on debris. Maybe it was the adrenaline. I just kind of put the controller down. I don't know how else to say it. I just thought we were done.
Yeah, I suppose if you feel like you've done a knockout in a fight and you've done.
But that's the thing. The timer was still going. It's so it's hard to describe. Back then, it was such.
You're still fairly new. It's literally your second fight.
Yeah, but it was such a daze in my mind. It was almost like I had zoned out completely and just thought, "Whoa, what's happening? I'm doing well on Robot Wars. This is not supposed to be a thing." And I just kind of thought, "Oh well, we're done. We're stuck on debris. We're done." They counted us out.
And then out of nowhere.
They counted us out, and then I picked up the transmitter and I drove away. I just don't know what was happening. I honestly don't.
Because Iron Ore was beached and all, wasn't it? And then suddenly out of nowhere it moved.
Yes, so the fight.
Am I remembering that?
I wasn't beached. It was. I think the controller died because one side moved and then it died.
And then
That's the
suddenly
thing.
out of nowhere it just moved.
So we were ramped on them. We drove off and didn't move. They weren't moving. And then they moved on just one side of drive, I think. They just crab walked a bit, like a fraction.
Yeah, tiniest bit.
And that was all it took. And then the buzzer went, and we moved away. But that was it. It's so weird to describe. Thinking about it, I don't know what was going on in my mind. I thought we were out, so I just kind of thought, well, that's it. We're done. Fight's over. But it wasn't over. It's hard to describe. I don't know entirely what happened in my mind, but we were stuck on debris.
There's
I thought
so
we were
much
stuck.
other noise, isn't there? There's the audience. You've got the background sounds, the light. Like it's really hard to
It's
focus
like
in. On
it's
anything
like nothing
specific.
you can believe. It's
So after that, what was the fight order?
so
I think it was me next
your
with
fight.
Kegs.
No. Your fight with Nuts was second. My fight was the first three-way. Then yours,
Then we had
and
Kegs.
then your
Then you
redemption
had
with
Kegs.
the Kegs.
Yeah, well that happened. Didn't
Were these actually filmed in order, or were we just going to go off the TV order?
I just
we'll go off the TV
I
order
can't
because I
remember.
cannot remember what
Yeah.
order they were.
Concussion
Yeah.
versus the Kegs.
3, 2.
So as anyone knows, absolutely love a drink, especially in mass. So fighting the two Kegs was like a dream come true. So fairly simple bot put together, wooden base, very thin metal body. Someone had taken out one of the spinners in the fight before.
Oh,
Thank
they
you very
have.
much.
No worries. Anything for you.
Little
Oh,
fist
go on,
pump.
little
Little
fist
ASMR fist pump.
Oh, what? That was the sound of me and Tim bumping fists.
Mildly fleshy.
Mildly fleshy. Mildly fleshy.
Anyway, the Kegs didn't really drive too straight. The guys were really friendly. Concussion was spun up.
Yep.
Managed to repair it properly. Nick worked on the drive. Sam McCall was tightening up the weapon belts, and I did the base plate because I needed to get some of the frustration of the first one out on a piece of metal. Anyway, so we go in, spin up, give him a wallop, give him another wallop, and we actually said to leave him, but Carl he was
doesn't
quite
do that.
quiet. Carl literally just was like 2 thumbs forward, straight at him. So so we
Carl.
gave him another smash and sent them to bits. But it was their last fight. In fairness.
Yes.
They weren't getting back from that.
They weren't going to.
Yeah, if they got another one,
They'd already
after,
said they were going to
out.
put it in the skips.
Yeah, exactly. So that was that fight.
That was it. That was done in a minute.
Yeah, well, it was-
On the podcast,
I
a
mean,
minute.
the fight was like 30 seconds. So.
It was. I mean, it was a cool fight to see.
John was lovely about it, and
Yeah.
Jamie was cool about it. No,
Yeah,
I
John,
mean,
John and Jamie are fantastic.
Always
They're,
lovely.
they're really cool,
yeah.
cool people. We love them.
John in America. Oh, he's so funny.
That sounds like another
He couldn't-
podcast.
Oh, there was a
We'll-
night where it got that messy. He couldn't find his bedroom. He came to me the next morning. He's like, "I couldn't find my room. What did you do?" He was so upset.
We will have to do
We'll have to get John
BattleBots and all that
We'll have to get
with John. Hopefully at some
We
point.
need John Frizzell on. John, if you're listening,
Love you.
We love you.
We want you.
So what was
On
the
the
next
podcast.
fight?
What was the next fight? Was it you? Was it you?
It was me versus Androne. 4,000.
Was Andrew?
It was your redemption, then my redemption.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a tricky one.
Because
So
we both hyped each other up for our fights, and we were like,
yeah, so going into this fight, I thought, okay, I think we're the scarier robot again. Woo! One thing that I had spotted in our previous fight is that our ground clearance was so low that we couldn't really turn with the weapon going at full speed because due to the gyroscopic forces, we were fighting that to turn the robot. But when you lift one side of the robot off the ground, the armor scrapes on the floor, so you can't drive.
you dig in.
You dig into the ground. So for this fight, my dad and I decided that we would only try and spin the weapon about half speed.
Your belts were very loose as well.
But the belts were loose, so I think in reality we were only spinning at about 25% what it should have been.
There was quite a lot of HTP on Androne.
It is.
And it slowed stuff down.
So in this fight, you could see that I could drive pretty nicely, whilst the weapon was just not really doing much.
I think it's well the shape they were. They sort of tapered back from you.
Yeah, the shape as well, and the material as well. Really, hitting plastic that's mounted in that way to absorb impacts is very difficult to damage because it just doesn't do anything. It like pulls things off, but it doesn't rip things off as
It just
you want.
slows the weapon down constantly.
Yeah, it's like hitting mud.
Yeah,
It is.
It's like hitting mud.
So the fight goes on, and I think they're probably winning it on control. We're doing a bit more damage at this point.
It's not really winning on control. You went nose to nose, and you both had a weapon going. I don't think it was they like went round and goosed you from behind or got you when you were at disadvantage. It was just front on. To me, it was just front on.
And then there's a bit of smoke where it's not the motor, it's our belts slipping because they've jammed up our weapon. So we try and spin it, and then you see the smoke from the belts slipping. And from that point on, I remember saying to my dad, "Just spin it at full. We're not doing anything." So for the rest of the fight, we're spinning at full speed.
Well, that's a funny thing, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
you pick up on a good point there, saying about the belt.
Yeah.
I love that a lot of people instantly go to worst case scenario when they see smoke.
Lipos.
Oh, it must be Lipos.
They
Oh,
did.
it's got to be Lipos.
They said, "Oh, that's Tauren's weapon motor gone." No, it's not.
It's the belts.
It's the belts. Yeah, of course. Yeah. So for the rest of the fight, we were spinning at full speed, and you can see the driving not being quite as good because I can't drive at full speed. So we then start doing the big hits, and at that point, I
You
thought
take one of the top panels off, didn't you?
we did. Yeah, we bent up one of the forks. We bent up one of the forks, which got them stuck in the ground, and the driver of Androne said at that point, "Oh, go and hit us again. Go and get us free." So I did.
Tom, you took the bait.
Of course I did. I was in the middle of the fight.
Dumb, young, and full of ambition.
Ambition, yes, very good. Good swerve there. And yeah. The fight ended, and I said to the Androne guy, "Good fight," and he said, "Yeah, I think you've probably won that." And I thought, oh, I think I might have done.
We
that.
were in
I
the
hope
stands.
I hope I've done.
We were in the stands watching the whole thing.
I remember
you
that.
were in the pod, and I saw you through the thing. I was like, "You've got this," and I thought, and everyone around me in the audience thought it was yours.
Yep.
We honestly did.
Yeah. No, I remember seeing you. You were there. It's weird how
Easy to miss.
how easy to miss you are. Yeah. No, it's yeah. And we walked to the front, and we met with Dara, and they said the winner is Androne 4000.
Yeah.
Fair play.
I love you, Tom, but also I was quite glad I didn't have to fight you.
Would we have?
Tom
Would we
would.
have?
Yes,
would
because
we
I
have-
fought Andrew next.
Oh, that would have been fun.
Would it though?
But you know, in hindsight, Tauren Mark II was a slightly flawed design. The ground clearance was terrible. It had no feeder forks.
That was if it had 3D forks, it would have been.
But the thing is, I just didn't know about feeder forks back then. It's just this was my second ever robot, and I just didn't know all these things that experienced builders know. Just didn't cross my mind that we would need feeder forks.
For a fun context, this has obviously all happened over like several days by this point. Because I think for some reason I seem to remember Series 10 was a lot slower than a lot of others.
I think there was an extra couple of days filming.
Yeah,
Was
because
that- was
previous ones it was like done in 2 days and we've gone. I mean, granted, yes, both previous times have been
I mean,
fairly short fights.
I was on some severely strong back pain medication.
Yeah.
So it could have been 3 days, could have been 3 months. I've got no idea.
I just remember at one point
This is hitting me so hard.
on the way back
Oh,
to
Tim's drinking his half vodka,
Oh, what, I had a
An
little
eighth-
bit of tea left.
an 8th tropical drink.
Tom just chucked in a quart of vodka into my tea.
Marvellous.
So I've got a milky vodka.
delicious.
It's like
Yeah,
a
so
But I
shite
remember,
Russian.
I
Instead
remember,
of white Russian. Shite Russian.
I remember back on the way back to the hotel once, like Tom and Tim and that lot drove past, and like, out the window randomly, it was like, oh my god, it's the Rory Mangles.
I remember
which is
that.
where that kit started.
I
that
distinctly
whole thing
remember
came
being in the
on-
car with you, Tim, doing that.
Yeah, on the way back, I was driving back from the venue to the hotel, and just randomly out the window, like Tom was shouting,
Oh my god!
it's the Rory Mangles out the window on the motorway on the way
And
back.
then it began.
And that's where that came from.
So Rory's the original Rory Mangles.
The OG.
That's
Oh.
fantastic. That's fantastic.
So many nights of KFC
Yeah.
or
KFC.
McDonald's.
KFC.
There
and,
for the fast
Lots
food.
of nights of KFC. Yeah,
Oh,
you,
that could be a. That, could,
you don't dream in 11 herbs and spices, Rory.
that sounds like another podcast.
We'll get Jason on.
Oh my
Yeah.
god! Eventually, yeah.
Um,
So from my standpoint, that was the end of me on Rebels.
But
That was the end.
every single person around me and almost all of the Roboteers would agree that I think you were robbed a bit. It was such an improvement on the last machine. You didn't get a chance to show it.
You got your redemption at BattleBots in theory.
We'll get to that in another podcast.
in another
That's
podcast.
the catchphrase. I mean, honestly, that does mean a lot. But at the end of the day, we were judged, and we both
If I genuinely
us
thought
and
you were
Andrew
rubbish,
were trying to win. And
if I genuinely thought you were rubbish, I would have
Yeah.
teamed up with you for America because that is such a big jump in investment. And
It is.
Sam certainly wouldn't have because he's incredibly sort of finicky.
we did bring Sam along. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
We
would.
did quite a bit. So
We did bring Sam. No, Sam was.
you sort of fell asleep when we got there, but on the
Sam
way
is
up and
fantastic.
built up to
Sam
it,
is fantastic.
Sam was there as well.
Sam was there.
Sam managed to eat his own weight in cheese balls. Anyway, that's
Yeah,
another.
and yeah, as I say, that was it. And if RoboWars had come back, then it would have been Monsoon 1.
So I think it was you next, or was it
With
me
Andrew.
next?
I think it was us and Andrew. Me and Andrew.
What a memorable fight that was.
Oh, that was fantastic. I remember the
was-
eruption.
He's a squirter.
So
Go on.
basically, our tactic for this fight was, well, we know from the first fight the mini-bots can get under Andrew because they did that at some point during the first fight. And so it was like, well, they're going to try and box rush us because it's a one-on-one fight, and they're quite a large robot.
Isn't that like a
and stop us.
3-on-1 with the mini-bots?
Yeah, one-on-one as in terms of teams.
1-on-1, but with midgets.
Yes. we had two boxing midgets.
Alex was in the arena at the time.
And we. So our plan was to get
Tim's gone. That's it.
try and slow Andrew down a bit to get let us spin up, and we hadn't intended to do any of what happened next with the hydraulics.
Not even short. There's like no relevance.
So the fight starts. The mini-bots get up, dart forwards. You see how fast the brushless mini-bot is in that fight because it's got magnets. It's got
What colour was it?
lots of drive. That was the white
Please
one.
go through each colour.
I would.
The white one,
I
and the
would
red
allow-
one, yeah. So they slow Andrew down significantly.
What? Their spinner? What?
So they just wedge underneath and slow the drive down
Okay.
on Andrew,
Okay.
giving Nuts the time to spin up to a reasonable speed.
Hmm.
And
What is the max speed on Nuts 2 out of
I
interest?
think it was only 80 miles an hour on the tip.
Only
speed.
80.
80 miles an hour on the tip speed.
It's pretty good.
It's just the reach.
Powerful tips.
2 kilograms at 80 miles an hour is not a strong spinner.
I mean,
It is if it hits you.
Tim would disagree.
repeatedly
There you
in
go.
a soft spot.
Yeah, if you're made of Brex, sure.
Or rubber.
Or a bit of chrome, aluminium. But yes, so we get enough speed to spin up, time to spin up, and we somehow hit a hydraulic hose perfectly.
The timing, because it wasn't just hitting the hose.
Yeah.
It was as they started to move their arms.
So it
was
sprayed.
full pressure.
Yeah.
Going up.
The
there.
first time I saw that, I thought it was fire. From the monitor in the pits, it was like orange, wasn't
That's
it?
why Tom's not allowed to do the washing up. He's distinguished between flames and liquid.
I can't.
The
do it.
fairy liquid's on fire!
on fire!
Get out of the fireplace! But the dishes!
No, honestly, I thought it looked like it was orange. It looked like
It was so aggressive. It did look flame-like with the lighting.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
all.
yeah. Yeah, it did.
It's
Maybe
quite,
it was the
quite
lighting.
spray.
Yep.
If you watch the slow-mo back, you can see it just like spurt into the mini-bot's camera, and
It was
watch
great.
the mini-bot footage.
And then
on
you just
YouTube.
watch their crusher slowly close because it's got no pressure left.
Yeah.
Slowly comes down.
So I was
Great.
I was kind of pissed at this point, purely because they'd covered the whole arena with oil, and we'd our whole weapon system relied on grip and ability to move around while spinning. But we had absolutely no control at this point. No one had any control at this point because the whole arena was covered in a massive oil slick. And I was like, at some point, I swear I remember saying, "Hey, like oil weapons aren't allowed."
Like a
which they
boiled
didn't-
egg in
yeah.
olive oil.
which they can't. But mercifully, as with every of our fights, somebody drove onto the floor flipper and ended up upside down.
Did
And,
Carl take the transmitter for a second?
Carl did steal their
Andrew
To be
was
fair,
channeling
ran
that
in
inner
there.
Carl and ended up on the floor flipper and ended up upside down. And I was like, well, I'm going to make it look as if I'm, trying to flip them back over, but obviously not. So I just went up and
Monsoon v Ragnarok?
switched it off.
No, I was trying.
Switched it off melty brain
Why?
mode and gave it a couple of nudges just to look like, give it a bit of sportsmanship. But obviously trying not to flip them over because this was our only way of winning because we had absolutely no control at this point because of the oil. So, yeah, I mean, this was our first time I'd gone, well, we won a fight. Like, we'll take it. And various people have been, like, when we won our first fight, various people were like, well, you're going to go for the heat final, and was like, I mean, funny joke, but sure. And then we won this fight, and we were like, oh, we've only got one more fight, and then, I mean, that's the heat final after this, because, oof. Who are we going to face in the heat final, Tim? What's the next fight?
Oh, we had Dianor, which
yes.
again they were suffering from the freezy flip freeze issue.
Words.
They were?
We already explained about that. So we had them, but they were giving it all that. They were saying, "Oh, they're young boys. They're this, that, they're this." They were trying to play the intimidation game, which, when I'm heavier than the robot in the arena, it doesn't really work. In all fairness, when I'm above the acceptable weight limit for a fighting robot, I'm not easily startled by two relatively average height people. So they put in these chains and all that, this, that, and the other, and
You obliterated
I
them.
think it was the first time I saw Sam quite testy, actually. Sam was a bit like, oh, it's just another flipper, let's get him. I think it was Sam. I'm almost certain it was Sam. And he just, I think in the box, he just said, just go straight from Carl. I think Sam just, I remember Sam saying that. I probably get it wrong. When when the adrenaline's up there, you remember colours and shapes, and that's about it.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
And
Sam comes across as quite a passive person, though.
But
he comes across, but he's definitely got that edge.
With the monsoon fights, he was always quite reserved.
No, because Sam can be quite
Oh, exactly.
I
When
suppose,
he needs to be, he's very
quite
sure.
lad.
And basically, we wanted to get him quick, just in case the flipper did start working.
Yeah,
Because we hadn't actually fought anybody who could flip us before, apart from the arena.
I suppose. Yeah,
And,
Carl proved that. Theory.
Carl proved that, yeah. And so we were like, let's go for him. And one big wallop. The chunk we took out of him was sizable. I was very happy with that damage.
Was that just front on with their flipper?
Oh, we got under their flipper straight away.
Straight away.
We spent Sam spent so long designing the forks so that it worked, and they were brilliant. I have to say, he did a fantastic job. They got under everything.
That's the
feeder
thing.
forks are great.
When fighting a flipper, all you need to do is nick the front of that.
Oh,
And
we
then-
did straight away.
And then they can't go under
I think
you,
we
and
took
then-
the tip off. We just took the.
Oh.
So we just straight at him, bang, hit him again. Just don't let them get a chance to get into it because they could push us down a bit.
Yeah, no.
And,
The thing is, they're very experienced. Did you go into that fight a little worried about their experience?
Yeah, I mean, if the flipper was working, there's some low points in there, and they could certainly get us from the sides and the back.
I mean, you're a smaller robot than them. They could have gotten under you and
that's
thrown you
a
anywhere.
Real thing
Really.
people don't think about is if the robot's very compact, it's easy
Yeah.
to flip because all that weight is in one place, so it can just.
Exactly.
See when they do
Exactly.
tests, they've got like a big old lump of steel that flies. But
Yeah.
with a robot, you sort of got to get an edge.
It could have been you. Yeah.
Could have been us, yeah.
Yeah,
but
right,
luckily, it wasn't
I was somewhat sad to not fight a flipper at some point because it would have been a hilarious fight because Nuts is almost unflippable.
I mean, mine was designed around fighting flippers. So
Yes.
awkward.
Tom was also.
Yeah, so we went in, battered them, and it felt good. We were like, oh, good, we're getting momentum back.
Nice.
Brilliant.
Good.
And then
Both in the heat final.
both of us in the heat final. We had grams
You
to play
two
with.
in the heat final.
They had grams to play with.
I don't think either of us particularly enjoyed this fight.
This was so... Like, we were really friendly in the pits, and then as soon as this happened, we both went quiet. Weren't we? We went quiet and
We
focused.
were.
It wasn't hostile at all. It was just, okay, this now means
Yeah.
quite the deal. Because we wanted to come back and be like, you're not getting on top of us twice.
Not again.
And we were like,
Yeah.
I mean, what are they going to do to us?
Yeah,
So-
like, I couldn't get my head around what we could actually get you with.
So, what were your preparations for this fight, Tim?
Nutbusters.
The Nutbusters. Take us through the Nutbusters.
We had a small piece of test polycarb Carl formed to see if the jig was the right shape for the
I
robot.
remember seeing those.
And I just put Nutbusters on the side because I thought it would be funny to get that on BBC Two.
Tim, I thought it was funny.
Uh,
I'm, you know,
they
and
I
they worked for a while. In all fairness, they took quite a few blows. And anybody who says that 2mm polycarb's enough to stop a 110 kilo robot moving alone is a fool. The wheel was shagged already. You got through that one, and the wheel was shagged, and we just didn't have the momentum on one wheel to get ourselves back over. If we had both wheels working in that fight, we could have, as we proved in our test video.
Yeah,
You're rocking one wheel.
But you can't get it over without two. You need that extra bit of swing to get it over.
I feel like it was better than nothing, but I imagine you didn't expect to be inverted. But then again, you didn't expect Carl to be driving.
Nobody expects Carl.
First, Carl was a good driver for the vast
Right.
majority of it.
He was fine.
He just
Limited-
seemed to zone out with the pit.
As seen in,
flipper.
in post fights with other weight classes, his awareness of arena hazards is limited.
Yeah.
Limited, yeah.
So,
Ah,
Rory, for this fight, Rory, did you prepare at all for concussion?
I
Did you-
wiped a lot of oil off.
a lot of oil from
A lot
Andro.
of
the robot.
The blood of Androne.
trying to get some oil off the wheel.
Yeah.
After that fight, the arena was never the same. It was
for the rest of the
for the
series.
rest of the series.
I guess
The
you need the
oil.
grip, don't you, Rory?
Carbide goes off like a Beyblade for the rest of the series.
It was
Yeah.
the arena was a nightmare. 'Cause,
Yeah.
We didn't have trouble actually. That's because we got chonkus time.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of robots struggled for the rest of the series for grip because it's just straight paint onto sheet steel. Like there was very little grip in the first place.
Yeah.
Add a thin layer of oil to the top of that, absolute nightmare. So our multi-brain was
Like a hot
somewhat
dog down a hallway.
our multi-brain was somewhat of token gesture
Family
at this point.
podcast. Here we
And
go.
before the Android fight, we'd upgraded our multi-brain system with the more aggressive protocol, but that just about went to counteract the amount of the oil on the arena, so we were still no better than we were in the first fight. So yes, going into this fight, we're like, well, this can we can go over either way. I mean, I can't see a whole lot that we can do to concussion, and concussion can't reach us.
Were you concerned that this would
this
be
could be a
the
good
end
fight.
of Nuts, or did you think,
Not
we can win
necessarily,
this?
but
Or
we just thought it could be a good fight,
Yeah.
1-on-1.
Yeah.
I felt it would be a key moment fight.
Yeah. And I don't think either of us felt particularly good about the way the fight went because we didn't really fight. Like you went upside down, Shunt went ham on you, and we were also there. And I was really annoyed that we didn't get a good one of a good
I
back
didn't
and forth
feel
going.
like that was a nice way to go out
No.
on. I wanted more of a brawl.
I wanted more of I wanted
It'd be
a
nice
bit
to have
more
just landed a hit on you, really.
Yeah, like it would have been. I would have been happy that at that point to have gone out to go forwards, whatever. As long as we'd had a bit more back and forth. You attacked us, we'd attacked you.
I mean, like as much as we joke about Carl with the flipper, like I'm so very proud of each one of the team.
Yeah,
Because we did take a battering that.
after that fight, I went to Grant, who was driving Shunt, and said, "You killed
no,
me."
Shunt is autonomous. They're all autonomous. That's what
I
we've been
thought it
told.
was Oompa Loompas inside with string and
Yeah,
good intention.
but yeah, I went to Grant and said, "You stole me." We were having a good fight, and Shunt just like hammers through. It's like because Grant was like, "Yeah, I was getting bored." It's like, great. But yeah, at some point during that fight, because Nuts was struggling for grip because of the oil.
Yeah.
I was trying to melty brain towards.
It was painful afterwards. It was...
Towards Concussion, just to, try and get a couple of blows in.
Grant came up to us and said, we pegged you to win this episode.
Yeah.
It just made me sink out of my shoes, yeah.
But yeah, because apparently Noel Sharkey was like, well, you weren't you couldn't see you moving, so we weren't going to count you out. And it's like, what? The melty brain was working. I was just taking my time because the oil on the floor. So yeah, nobody really went away from that fight particularly happy, but somehow we won the episode. And
can I just say, your face at the end of this episode was fantastic. When they said you had won, it was just...
Well, I mean, somehow it's... Nuts isn't supposed to be a good robot, as it was not. It was just supposed to work.
But then you went from strength to strength on that one.
Well, ish.
I mean, there was the 10-way, just popping up about the 10-way.
Oh, yeah. The thing is...
So, it was a very good life lesson for any young roboteer. Don't get someone's robot wrong. So, the young kids who had traction thought we were Sabretooth. So, Carl went and took them out first.
They thought you were...
In the 10-way, they thought we were Sabretooth briefly.
And
me and Carl looked at each other like, we're taking out the children first.
So they thought you were Sabretooth.
We're going for the children.
What was the result of their actions upon thinking you were Sabretooth? Did
We
they
tore
drive...
one of their sides off.
Oh.
We tore the track of the wheel.
So they drove...
You're going to learn from the school of hard knocks.
So they saw you and thought, oh, we can take them?
No, they were just like, oh, I hope Sabretooth doesn't get us, to us. And then we were like,
yeah.
You what, mate?
We'll show you.
It's socially unacceptable to drop kick children on TV, so we just destroyed their robot instinct.
See, the thing is, throughout this whole series, our goal was to end up in the 10-way, because Nuts in the 10-way would have been glorious.
Very funny.
And so we're like,
it would have been.
There was a mutiny in the 10-way, because before the fight, we all got in the arena, all the teams, and we said, let's all go for the house robots, because it's our only chance. No one did it apart from Jason.
Yeah.
Jason runs up, acts in the front of Killalot, and he's like, it's just me!
Where are my
dudes?
Where are my friends?
He actually pitted us to get revenge in the last series. He was the one
good.
that put us in the pit in the 10-way.
Yeah. That was a fantastic fight. It was good.
So
it was good.
Because going into our final fight of that episode, we were like, either we win this fight and go to the final, which is awesome, or we go into the 10-way, which is also awesome. So whatever the outcome, it would have been great.
What would you have preferred? Glorious death in the 10-way, or
I think
at the time, if I had known my draw for the final, I would have preferred the 10-way, because I didn't want to fight Carbide.
2 mugs of tea, 2 mugs of tea. It's robot combat conversation, 2 mugs of tea.
Socially unacceptable to drop kick children on TV.
Family. So here we are, the grand final of Series 10, perhaps the greatest series of Robot Wars ever conceived. Arguably. So the first fight is between Nuts 2 and the ferocious Carbide. Rory Mangles. Carbide. Can you take us?
And Behemoth.
Oh, and Behemoth was also present.
So this was a bit of a reunion fight from series 8, where during we'd fought both Carbide and Behemoth before in series 8, and had a great time fighting Behemoth. Not such a great time fighting Carbide.
That's great TV.
And it was a great time. Yeah, so our plan for this fight was
to not die, or
to just stay out of the way and let Behemoth and Carbide spar in the corner, and us trying to avoid the fallout. But also, we had checked the height of Carbide's weapon chain.
We had a tour.
So we noticed that
this
was planned.
Yes, but we noticed that what our flails reached down rather than up, and we needed quite a close reach to get their chain. So we're like, well, if we flip one of the flails over, then we cover all bases. So we before this fight, we took off one of the flails, flipped it over, and so one of them reached up, one of them reached down, and yes. So going into this fight, we were somewhat nervous, having had the sharp end of Carbide's tongue at previous series, and knowing quite what happens when you get on the wrong side of it.
Because you were quite uncertain you'd be able to do anything.
Yes.
And rumour has it I'm fairly excitable. And before the fight, I was like, "You're going to do it, Rory. You're going to kill him." I was like,
I was like,
sure, it was
Tim.
going to happen. Yeah.
Sure.
So did you measure the distance from the ground to the chain
Yes.
before?
Yes.
So this was fully intended.
It wasn't intended so much as, well, you know, we'll give ourselves the best shot.
Yeah.
But our general plan was to stay out of the way as much as possible. And to be fair, because Bearmoth had a really rough time in Series 8 versus Carbide, but they'd come back for Series 9 and 10 with a proper anti-spinner wedge that was properly designed to take on Carbide. And they were doing a really good job of dispatching Carbide. You know, they're deflecting all the blows.
Yep.
And at one unfortunate for them point, Alex hits the pit button because Carbide was near the pit, so he was like, right, I'm gonna try and get Carbide down the pit. And by the time the pit went down, Carbide had come off the pit and Bearmoth had come down the pit, and we're like, oh crap, we're now stuck in an arena with just Carbide. Our one meat shield of Bearmoth has left us. What do we do now? So we just kept spinning. Fortunately, Bearmoth had already done a little bit of the legwork, and Carbide was pretty well spun down. So we, so when Carbide came over to us, their weapon was only, below half speed, and we somehow got the chain. And Tom and Tim are having a great time just saying yap in the corner there and giggling like a pair of tits. But
Tits coming first.
yeah. We were
2 mugs of boobs.
So yeah, we were surprised as anyone that the chain had gone. But the whole fight, we were just like, well, okay, I think we got the chain, but what do we do now? So Alex spent the entire time chasing Moldy around with the mini-bot, and at one point got Moldy beached on him, and we were like, because we saw the counter start, I was like, oh, please don't actually count them out on this, because otherwise it's going to be an absolute palaver, because it's technically a pin, but the judges can't see that because the mini-bot was round behind it and it looks like Carbide stuff.
Oh yeah, the controversy.
So they started counting it down, and mercifully Carbide managed to get off the mini-bot within like a second to go. But if it wasn't for that, they would have, Carbide would have counted down.
I think you played the Behemoth pitting. Like, that was insane. They had no idea where that came from.
Was that completely planned? Did you go into that fight thinking, we're going to try this new trick that we've learned?
Well, because the thing is, in other fights, we tried pressing the pit button with the mini-bots and nothing happened.
Yep.
So, but Alex was like, the Carbide's over the pit.
So
Let's hit the pit button.
Is that because the producers didn't consider a mini-bot enough weight to press the button? Or?
I don't know whether it's
Probably wasn't paying attention.
I think
maybe.
The thing is, the guy who controls all the arena weapons is between the two booths.
Yeah.
Looking behind a sheet of mesh
Over
the arena.
Between
and,
what?
The two booths, Tom.
Tim.
Yep.
And
Oh dear.
the visibility from there isn't great. So you could argue they didn't see the mini bots in previous fights, but apparently mini bots can open the pit. And
so does that mean how many mini bots did you have?
we had 2 in this fight.
So for a total of 3, does that mean that you could have pressed the button 3 times?
Thing is, we did the button because at some point in that fight, must be in this.
Hang on. Let's pedal back a second.
Wait, what colours were they again?
At any point, did you have 3 mini-bots?
Not in the arena.
I was
Only
going to say,
Series
there's
9.
only 3 of them.
Well, I'm saying 2 plus the main robot.
Oh,
That's
okay.
3.
Yeah,
Three attempts at the
That's
button.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I seem to remember at one point. So the minibot hits the button, and the pit goes down.
Yep.
Carbide hits the button, and we get Fog of War. And I seem to remember Nuts hits the button, and we get Fog of War again. Or Rogue House Throw, but I can't remember which. But basically, I think the button gets hit 3 times between the 2 robots, and we're like, sure. But yeah, so Carbide spends most of this fight running away from the minibot. Nuts managed to take the top of the wheel off, and everyone in the pits,
huge chunk. Yeah,
everyone in the pits is absolutely screaming. There's a video somewhere on YouTube of
That was
of
amazing. I remember
people in the
watching
pits.
the elation was.
Do you remember watching that?
Because
Tim?
at
Yeah.
this point,
Madness.
Carbide
Fantastic.
hadn't lost a fight since the end, since the beginning of series 8.
And then here was Nuts 2
well,
of
hang on,
all
yeah,
the
the
robots.
last time they'd lost was against Terahertz.
Yeah.
Oh no, and Apollo.
And Apollo, yeah.
So they lost twice in
against
the
Apollo.
first series.
Yeah. They didn't lose at all in Series 9.
No.
And they had a clean sweep up until this point in
I
Series
think
10.
they were only a couple short of Razors unbeaten at their
Yeah.
run. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Nuts happened. But yeah, so basically the fight kind of ends, and we're all like, I mean, it's gone to the judges.
You must have known.
But-
You must have known that you had done
Yeah, but
something
it's
ridiculous.
When the chain came off, the
Yeah.
room erupted. The whole
Yeah.
building
Yeah.
erupted.
I was like, Nuts, except the chain aside, Nuts hadn't done a whole lot in that fight. Hadn't done any control. It hadn't,
You
it's kind of
disabled
rolled around.
Carbide's weapon.
You pitted Behemoth.
You pitted them, yeah.
But but at this point, well, because we didn't know the minibot counter control. Apparently, that did. We were like, well, I mean, you don't beat Carbide, so what's going to happen? Carbide's won every fight for the last 2 series, pretty much.
yeah.
You don't beat Carbide, especially not Nuts. What's going to happen at the end of this fight, because it's gone to the judges. And we were sat in the arena, and I was like, what is going on? And there's that great shot of them announcing it and me being like, what is happening? And that's genuine in terms of, I don't think it was disbelief at the results. It was disbelief at the, it wasn't surprise at the results. It was more just disbelief at the whole situation.
But you must have known at the time when you took out their chain that it was something spectacular.
Well, I think at the fight, I was just like, okay, well, we don't have to deal with the weapon anymore. But it was just kind of, okay, just doing what you can to
Keep hitting them.
Keep hitting them.
So to backtrack a bit, did you go into this fight thinking we're gonna get destroyed? This is nuts, or did you think we've measured their chain, we know we can hit it, we can, and we will? Hit
We
it.
entirely thought we were going to get
Or
destroyed.
did you just flail your way into it? Like the
yeah,
farmer boy trash you are.
We thought it was going to end poorly.
Yeah.
Because we fought Carbide before. Every other person who fought Carbide up in this
But
fight had been destroyed.
what anyone can vouch, that anyone who's been on a team with me or around me before a fight and they've talked to me can vouch for my attitude is don't go in thinking you're going to lose.
Every single fight I've ever done in the world has been I'm going to lose. The only ones I've thought I'm going to win, I immediately lose.
Isn't my attitude every time?
Tim's fight?
It is. Yeah, Tim's attitude.
Tim's
is.
attitude is, and every time I go into a fight thinking I'm going to win, I immediately lose. So I have a very much opposite theory to Tim. Every fight I go into, I'm like, I'm not interested in this fight. I'm going to lose it. It's fine. We'll do what we can. And then whatever happens is great. Anytime I've gone, I've got this guy, I immediately lose for something dumb. So every fight, any tournament fight I've ever done, I've always gone, yeah, we'll see what happens. Something's going to happen. It'll be nice.
I don't mean to say that you go in thinking you're better than them or you go in thinking you're definitely going to win. Do not think that you're going to lose because, the attitude matters. It really does.
Every time I think I'm going to lose.
Saying that makes me think back to how I thought about my first fights. I don't want to say that I felt overconfident, but I felt like we had a good shot at winning, and I wanted to win. I wanted to win my fights.
I mean,
I don't think I wasn't trying to be cocky. I just thought I was aware that we were the nastier robot.
Every time I've got cocky in a fight and thought I can have this guy,
Yeah.
I immediately lose.
No, I
Yeah.
never say that. I usually say something else that you probably can't. The amount of quotes and random stuff I was like, the amount of stuff that got cut out of what I shouted while we were fighting with Monsoon and all.
Oh, the and as I say, that'll be another podcast. There were some swears. There were a few. Oh my god, the adrenaline with Monsoon was.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Anyway, back to
Monday.
the Mangles. The Mangles.
back to the
experience.
men in the felt coats
Yes. For whatever reason.
and the boy
That was a
who
thing.
has now become a man,
Yeah.
Alex.
Mr. Alex. Shaky.
Mr. Shakespeare.
Did a wonderful job of driving the minibot and harassing young molds.
Was that him driving the minibot?
Yes, he was.
He
hard
pitted
driving.
Fantastic.
Behemoth.
So he won the fight. Is
Yes,
what you're saying.
entirely.
So a single minibot beat Behemoth and arguably Carbide.
And Nuts was also there.
Nuts was also
Essentially,
present.
out of 5. Basically, the way I sum up Series 10 with Nuts is, I could have just spun up, throttled up, get it spinning, and then got a coffee, and then out come the fights with about.
Oh, that makes me feel valued.
Yes.
So,
Nuts is everyone always says, "Oh, Roy, when
Beaten by a freaking Beyblade.
why don't you bring back Nuts 2?" And it's like, 'cause it's bloody boring to drive. You can't. There's no. Unlike a lot of like control robot stuff, you have really good time driving. You're gonna get your angles and all the rest of it. Full body spinners are really dull to drive. There is no skill behind it. You just spin up, and people drive. As soon as someone drives towards you, it's kind of game over.
Nice.
Either way.
game over for Carbide in this situation.
Yeah. So
His belt was torn, his pants were down, and you won.
And you had him. You took
So,
him.
after this fight, it was a case of, well, okay, on the other side of the draw, was it Magnetar and Eruption had fought and Magnetar lost in this one?
It was Magnetar.
I remember
And
that Magnetar did something
Behemoth.
silly.
Yeah, Magnetar got
Ellis
flipped
did
and
something-
Gearbox.
No, it was Magnetar versus Behemoth. Magnetar lost because they couldn't.
Oh yeah, that was their.
He couldn't
fight. You wanted
self-rise.
Magnetar or Behemoth or something.
Basically, it was Behemoth and Carbide got through in the Redemption.
So it was one of those two.
It was one of those two, and we really wanted Behemoth, and it's one of my great regrets that we didn't get Behemoth, because if we'd got
Yeah.
Behemoth,
Because Chris was quite annoyed about that. I remember
Yeah.
seeing him. He was quite.
because we would have loved to have Behemoth, because that would have been a great fight, and whichever of us had won
It would.
have been in the final. We didn't care at this point who had won. We just wanted either of us two robots in the final, and then Carbide and Eruption would have fought in the semi-finals, and
Yeah.
they'd have got them.
Yeah.
But production had seen, Nuts has beaten Carbide. They can do it again. Let's put them in against Carbide, so they can knock them out of the final.
See, it's not random draw.
Sorry, it's random draw.
So you should have fought either Carbide or Behemoth. These were your two options.
Yeah,
at
it
this
was
point.
literally at this point it was entirely a toss of the coin, because of the way the system worked. There was no
Toss of the weighted coin.
but there was no based on the draw factor that could have pushed it either way or the other. Like, I hadn't beaten Behemoth or Carbide.
You're beating
specific-
Carbide.
Well, no.
And Behemoth.
the point is,
you should have been able to choose, Rory.
for
Well,
one.
exactly.
Yeah,
But I, it's not like I'd fought one and then the other one had come from the other side. And
Right.
it would make sense to fight the other. It was literally I'd already fought both and beaten
Because
both.
that
so there was
anti-spinner bucket Behemoth had that series was
was
the
really
biz.
good.
It was.
Yeah, it was
but
really good.
So thick.
And it would have been great
Yeah.
because with Behemoth, we would have flipped the whole robot upside down so the ring was higher, and try and get some of their polycard bits or their rams and all the rest of it.
Because
and it would
the
be really
sides are
good back
quite
and forth.
exposed, aren't they? Really,
Yeah.
it's quite thin poly.
Yeah, at the top, it's really armoured around the base, but really exposed at the top.
Yeah.
And we'd have a great time, because you can't start up Nuts the other way up because the link's only on top. Not at all against the rules, but they didn't question that. But at the start of the fight, I was just going to go once you put the link in, and just, if you drive forwards and then reverse quickly, the whole robot flips over on its face, and then suddenly the ring's higher up. And so I was just going to do that before the fight had started. And think, oh no, the robot's flipped over. What's this? The ring is suddenly higher, and it was really great. But sadly, production had, and even before the fight, head of production came up to me in the arena. He's like, "You're going to do it again. You're going to get their chain." I was like, "No, they've welded something to the front of it, as everyone knew they would."
It was a
A
slab of
slice
tool
of
locks.
Rapid.
Slice of
Yeah.
tool locks from Rapid.
Rapid.
Yeah.
And the look on his face when I told him, no, they've just welded something to the front, like everyone knew they would. He was like, what? And immediately went over to Karma and was like, oh. And it was like, every Roboteer knew they were going to do this.
To play devil's advocate, I can see why production would have wanted you to
Yeah,
have had another go at beating Carbide and beating them. It would have been fantastic.
I can see why.
But at the same time, I can fully understand your position in the fact that Behemoth is a fantastic robot, a fantastic live event robot.
It was basically because Behemoth has tried to get into the final of every series of Robot Wars since like Ad Infinitum.
Oh, I love Behemoth.
And it would have been incredible for them to finally get there.
Yeah.
It's a
And it
staple
would have been
of
incredible
Robot
for
It
Nuts
is.
to be in the
It is a
finals.
staple. Yeah.
Either way, it would have been a hilarious end.
It would have been a great fight. It
But
was-
especially after the backlash they got. The series before.
exactly. But
Yeah,
instead, we got
yeah.
a repeat of the previous series final, which I always thought was a great shame. And also, whatever happened in the Behemoth fight, we would have come out in more or less one piece. However, fighting Carbide, I still have a pile of scrap in my shed, which was once Nuts too. You know, Series 9 remains the only series I've ever come away with a robot in one piece.
I think production and the audience like seeing big destruction, though. And in some ways, it makes good TV to demolish Nuts, even though it's
But
even though it's a great
versus
robot.
Eruption.
Was not a great. Well, no, Behemoth did quite a good fight. I seem to remember Behemoth did really well in that fight.
Yeah.
They almost won at various points. They did very. They had a very.
I think
strong
Eruption
show.
was near the pit once, wasn't it? It was quite
I
close.
don't remember the fight particularly well. I haven't watched it in a while, but they did have a surprisingly strong show.
It was a back and forth, but again, it's not a fight that
No, it was.
no one's going to go. Oh, remember that
It
fight?
wasn't as entertaining as Nuts versus Behemoth would have been.
I think at live events, Behemoth and Eruption
Fought so many times.
are pretty close, though. Like they're
I haven't seen Behemoth at a live event in a long time.
We haven't been to a live event for a while.
yeah.
We miss you guys.
Come back.
but-
Bring back Radioactive.
But yeah, so we went into the fight kind of knowing it was over because Carbide had welded the chain. That was their one weakness against us. And we're like,
Do you know what it reminded me of? You know the episode of The Simpsons where they make Chief knock a homer, and they're like, "Oh, that robot's got one weak spot," and then they look over and they're welding like a giant spike panel over it. And it's like, and now it's the strongest part.
Oh yeah.
It was exactly that.
Yeah. So yeah, like before, Moldy had been kind of in that fight. It's like, look, we're a bit broken. They had a rough way up. They had to replace all their parts.
Yeah.
They had brand new set of batteries fast delivered after the fight against.
They
that
had.
was right.
I remember them smoking
Man.
coming out of their last fight, and then their new lipos being delivered like later that day.
Was that against Colossus?
Yes, it was getting
Because of the amount of like
Gabriel, that is.
strain. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
robot.
Gabriel, yeah.
The strain against all of that HCPE. It just keeps slowing, speeding up, slowing,
I've
speeding up.
totally destroyed Carbide.
I remember them coming out of that fight like smoking.
They were like glass cannon.
They had not
Yeah.
spec'd that robot to hit things for 3 minutes.
No.
For
Well, you don't, do you?
Carbide, they spec it to destroy the other robot
Well, Tombstone doesn't
under the
either.
limit. And
No, none of the big hitters ever plan for 3 minutes.
yeah. No, that's it.
Well, not 3 minutes of 3 minutes of driving around and spinning, but not 3 minutes of spinning up.
Of
constantly.
hitting, yeah,
Spin,
right.
start,
Hit,
spin, start,
spin up,
yeah.
hit, spin up, hit, spin up.
Drains the
Totally
battery a lot
destroyed
quicker than you
Carbide.
think. Yeah.
The damage that Gabriel did, it was way more than Nuts ever did to Carbide.
That's the thing, though. Like from an external point of view, Carbide battered Gabriel.
Yeah.
Internally,
Yeah.
Carbide
Collius-
was so much worse. off.
Collier switched the
yeah.
wheels out and it was good to go. Like Moldy had a total rebuild of Carbide.
I remember that Sam was to the bone in his
Yeah.
fingers. He was working like mad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
The smoke, I remember.
So Moldy going to that fight was like, a bit like, oh, we'll go gentle. It's only Nuts. And then after that fight, there was like out for blood because obviously you lose to Nuts, you don't want to lose to it twice.
Thanks, mate.
And well, also Tim is here.
Cheeky little crotch punch out of nowhere.
I did not think that sentence through.
No, it's fine, just verbally shit on me. Tom brought Ragnarok up out of nowhere.
Wow. Tim is also here. But yeah, so
Put your head up his ass if you keep this up.
He's pointing at Rory, by the way. That's important.
so it wasn't going to end well for us. We were like, oh god. You can kind of see it when Angela announces that we're fighting Carver. It was like, we know exactly what's going to happen. He's going to weld a plate over the bit of chain we hit. And if you watch the slow motion,
You should have welded a plate over your whole robot.
Yeah, great.
Should have
I
done.
should have welded the robot to be.
Should have done.
Yeah, sadly, I welded the robot this time, not Alex, and it shows.
We love you, Shaky.
because as soon as Carbide touches my nuts, it just falls the hell apart. You just see bits flying off. And it's like,
There are moments when a robot gets beaten that it looks grueling, and that is definitely in the top 5.
like bits of nuts
That
just
was-
flying off.
It was brutal. It's like a deer getting hit by a lorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, unfortunately, this time, because in Series 9, we went for a ring made of 3mm steel with panels across each joint, and but the panels were just there because the ring's really weak. We'll just gust it. But that worked really well because the 3mm absorbed all the shocks. It was so thin, any hit to it just went straight through it and bent the ring, but didn't damage anything else. The series after is like, well, that was a bit weak. And we got so much weight spare. We'll go up to 4mm ring. We won't need the plates over it. But because we didn't have the plates, the welds weren't nearly as strong. And as soon as it got touched by another spinner, it just tore the chunks out of the ring out and threw it out the arena. And so our one protective device had gone.
Yep.
And that was it. I seem to remember all that actually happened with the drive system in that fight is one side Carbide took a chunk out of the wheel and jammed it into the body. So one side of the drive wasn't working. I seem to remember something else, like a wire had come out internally. It was fairly minimal damage as far as expensive parts were concerned, but the entire end caps of the robot were totally ripped apart.
It just looked heartbreaking.
Yeah,
you took it home in a pile.
Yeah. I mean, the entire chassis of nuts was only 3.2mm hardox, and then has these 6mm end caps, which by a heavyweight armour standards isn't great when it's not properly supported, which this wasn't. It was leather sections of welded 6mm, and Carbide just tore chunks out of that. Like the welds just fell apart again because I welded them.
You welded them this time.
Yes, my welding was not great, especially with the welds I had.
Shaky, you are forgiven.
Yeah, so the whole thing kind of fell apart. We still had one. Basically, by the end of the fight, we had one wheel drive. We were in the corner. I couldn't see it because of the visibility.
Oh yeah, because it was the opposite corner to where the box was.
Yeah, it was the opposite corner to where the box was. I couldn't see it. I could see I was basically looking at the reflection of the polycarb to see that the robot was still moving. And I was like, I just let go of the stick. So I was like, yeah, we're done. Technically, I could limp around a bit more, but great.
I mean, who wants to live forever?
Exactly. So you don't want to live.
Michael Oates, he wants to live forever, doesn't he?
You don't want to limp around in a fight with Carbide. So I was like, look, I'm just going to put the transmitter down, say I'm dead, and at this point the fight is over.
To be fair,
really.
there's no shame there. I don't think.
You guys did something no one else has achieved, which was take a joke concept and beat multiple tough engineered robots.
So basically, the whole point of Nuts 2 was to take the concept of Nuts, which was a totally daft robot.
It's like
thought up using a Pringles can. Thought up using a Pringles can while slightly drunk.
A big clown.
It's like being beaten up
like
by a clown.
oh, it's a
with
clown.
two chains.
It's a clown, but it's a big clown.
Yeah.
It's a strong
And
clown.
we kind of took
Farmer clown.
It's a
we
farmer
took it
clown.
to the absolute extreme that we could think of. After the end of the series, we were kind of like, what, how could we take this further without taking it further? And if you've seen Gareth's robot Take Cover or the sequel, The Robot's Coming, I think it is, that was kind of originally started as the prototype for Nuts 3.
Take Cover's the one that fought Spank.
Yes. Yeah, that one.
Beaten by an inflatable.
That was kind of...
No, he won.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, because I took out Equinox.
Yeah, so that was kind of the
Purely by
the
skill.
prototype for Nuts 3. But that stopped kind of being silly and started being a serious attempt. And I was kind of glad we never got around to building the Nuts 3 because it was going to be very expensive.
So
and
the
it wasn't gonna
question,
work
the
at
question
the
that
time.
everyone is asking, Rory, if there had been Robot Wars 11, what would Nuts 3 have been?
It would have been The Robot's Coming, but bigger.
So for the people that don't know, what is The Robots Are Coming?
It is. It was going to be a massive chunk of eye-bar steel with a brushless motor either side. It was
So a big length
would
of
have
steel.
been
So picture the carbide bar, but scaled up, and that is the whole robot.
It would have been the largest new motor that they do, which I think is a 15 kilowatt new motor. with custom vests, which probably wouldn't have worked in hindsight.
So the power of
on
Tombstone.
senseless, which probably wouldn't have worked.
The
in
power of
hindsight.
Tombstone in a single weapon bar,
It would have taken forever to spin up.
but it would have been great.
It would have been immediately box rushed, and it would have never really worked. Which is kind of why I was glad I didn't spend.
I would have loved to have seen it.
$5
though.
grand of my own
I
money
would
on it.
want to see this.
It would have been very dull because it wouldn't have had.
No, it
flails.
wouldn't. It wouldn't. Rory.
It wouldn't have had flails, and it wouldn't have been very good. So I was kind of relieved that I didn't have to build Nuts 3. I was one of the very few people who.
You were
wasn't
relieved, but
overly
myself,
sad.
Tim, and the world were disappointed.
Yeah.
I was glad to go out on a high. If I'm honest, I was sad for everyone else, but personally, I was glad to go out on a high.
I think I can respect that. To be fair.
Yeah. Luckily,
Yeah.
I got the chance for the international special afterwards, where I
Yeah.
felt a lot better about our efforts. But
There was an international special.
yeah, international special, yeah,
International.
where we got told off for cheating, but that's fine.
I was asked. I was asked to stay for the international special, but at that point, I was so.
You guys
tired.
were done. Like you guys, you were
I
so done.
was so tired of having done the rest of the series, and the thing is, the whole series had been so long. I remember so little of it. It was such a case of doing nothing for days, and then a day of like mad panic. So there was literally like 2 days between fights at some point, which is unheard of with Rebel Wars.
2 days.
Well, a day and a bit.
Day and a bit, yeah.
Wow.
It was a very long
For those who
period
do
of time.
that.
Oh man. You know, I
was
came.
going to cry. In a minute.
I came away from that with a similar feeling to the first time, of which I have to do better. And that day, I started designing the next one. And then Monsoon was a thing.
We went to
America and
went to the Medway one, the one in the Extreme show, didn't we?
Oh, we did. We did. We did
Oh.
quite well. It's good.
Other things happened, but we'll ignore that.
Yeah, we'll get to that in another podcast.
Yes. But yes, Monsoon that came out of Tauren 3 at some point.
Yeah.
But yes, I went on and did other flamingo shaped things, which was good fun.
Well, we all after that, our next big project on the show was all at BattleBots, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You were with a name that, well, isn't a great name to stick yourself with in
I had
America
a big
because it means something else. But
I was wearing a shirt saying Predator.
Yeah.
yes, you
So,
were
I
covered
guess-
in lubricant.
Covered in lubricant.
I guess we won't go
Wandering around
into crazy detail because that is literally that's another podcast.
That's another.
But from the end of when did Robot Wars film? Was it
Oh,
was it
don't ask
February?
me.
Mate, must have been early in the year.
It was series 9 was cold because that's when I had the bubble.
It was
hat.
fairly early in the year.
It was
I remember
around November or December.
That was the
No,
first
that
one.
was series 9 was
Because we had the Christmas
December.
special.
That was the series.
Oh,
Oh, that was the year before. Oh no.
Yeah. So
okay,
this must have filmed.
Not a factual podcast.
Right. Okay. No. Yeah.
This
It must have been
this
April.
aired December, so it must have been April or
It was April or May,
Yeah.
and I know that for very sad reasons, as in genuinely sad reasons.
Yeah.
Because that's when, well, a certain part of my life ended.
yes.
Yeah. That's all right.
Yeah, so-
That's all right.
Yeah.
So yes, it was early on in the, and then it aired in December.
Yeah.
About that year when I was at Halifax.
I think it was a few months between the end of that my dad and I had finished what was Tauren 3 and taken it to a couple of events.
Mate, that event where I had to make you a keyway out of a drill bit.
Oh,
Do you remember I was there
yes,
fighting
yes.
for ages? I made you the keyway out
Was
of
that
a drill
when,
bit.
was that when it was spinning? Because we
Yeah.
did one event with Tauren 3 without
just
it
slipped
spinning,
completely, yeah.
and then one with it spinning where it did quite well.
We had to get back for the viewing party.
We did!
This
Oh,
episode.
yes!
We had
Oh,
to get back.
memories!
We had to shove it in the back of your car
Okay,
while
okay,
it was
okay.
on fire.
Okay, so
Oh.
the last fight was against Ripper, which Jono at the time
It
said
was
it
the
was
final of the
Yes.
day. Yeah.
Tauren Mark III on its first event spinning, got to the final of that event.
With a contactor held in with cable ties.
Yes, and
no less.
Nothing has changed, fan.
Jono said at the time it was the best fight he'd ever been in.
we
said that.
mashed the arena and all.
We did, and it caught fire at the end, lightly. We then chucked it in my car. While
Me
we,
and Sam had to load up and all, didn't we?
Ooh,
'Cause we
yeah,
were there.
because I did an interview on the front.
Yeah. we loaded the
Yes,
car up. While
I
you were,
remember.
yeah.
So we chucked it in my car
Madness.
while I did that, and then we barreled down halfway down the country. I don't know how we did it.
3 hours. 3-hour journey.
It should have been 3 hours, yes, but we
I think me and
somehow-
Sam made it in about 2.25.
So we barreled down to Dorset for a viewing party of our episodes.
That was great.
It was
That
the
a
same
good
day.
One.
It was a great event, I think, and a good day.
That was such a
Wait,
good
wasn't
day.
the viewing party at your series?
We did 9 and 10
It was at that music venue.
10.
because at Mr. Kip's, which is now closed. It's now gone forever.
Really?
Mr.
Are they-
Kip's,
So
are
what
they-
was the
shut
viewing?
down.
The viewing party for series 10, I seem to remember, was up at Aston, and that was
No, that's for the final.
that was for the final. Right,
But for our
okay.
episode, which was that
Okay,
weekend.
yes.
I wasn't there for the.
Do you remember the
final.
hotel?
But you-
The hotel you picked was in the middle of nowhere.
Hey, we found it eventually. It was great. That was such a good
one
weekend.
Week later.
That's
That was
so
when
good,
you
that's
stuck
good.
the teaspoon up my butt.
Oh. What? Who said that? Hello.
Well, that was news to me.
And that's the end of episode 2.
But for the for the final viewing party, I seem to remember that was the first time we met Sarah,
Oh.
because you brought her along because it was in Aston.
Oh,
At the River
no, that
Channel
was the
thing.
grand final.
That was the grand
I
final.
was there for that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember because you were
So,
there for that.
so the barreling down the motorway thing was for episode 4, our episode.
yeah.
Which we had
And
loads
then-
of people turn up.
and the
we
grand-
filled out a venue.
The
We've
grand
got friends
final
and
was
family.
the grand final was the first time you guys all met Sarah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We-
Because me and Jason were building Thumper.
It
And we were making so
was
many.
like, hi Sarah. So these are all of my friends and family. Here's everybody.
Hey Tom, how big's your weapon shaft? Oh. There were many jokes about that.
Oh,
and I still
really?
remember I turned up with Flamingo
You did.
because we had built that for Series 11. And
Yep.
so we were allowed to bring robots to the viewing party. It was literally like Flamingo and one other robot.
Oh, I brought Straddle 1.
Great.
Great. And I had Tauren in the car
Yeah. It was in a pub
think.
in Aston.
or in
I
the.
know.
near the Robo Challenge.
Oh, and
shop.
Jason wore a Sabretooth t-shirt the whole journey down just to irritate me.
Yeah.
Because of the mistaken identity thing. Of
Oh dear.
Yeah. Funny times.
I
Anyway.
I seem to remember during that episode, during the viewing party, as it came up to the car, I got like a nosebleed or something, and everyone was like, "Oh, well done, Roy." I was like, "Great, yeah, hi guys." It was just
robots.
it was a fucking great time.
Oh, Rory.
Brilliant.
Perfect timing. But yeah, that was the thing that happened. Robot Wars in general, great.
Great.
And that, ladies and jelly beans, was the end of Robot Wars as we know it right now.
yes.
Well, for now, we don't know if it's coming back. It may do.
It's not.
A lot of other things going on nowadays.
There's a lot of
Boo.
there's a lot of cogs behind the scenes that are turning, but
A lot of cobs.
a lot of
did you say?
cogs.
Oh, you said cobs.
It's not impossible for it to return, but right now there is nothing happening for it.
However, you can still support the hobby locally with
can.
live shows, extreme shows. They're not on now, but they are coming back.
What's this? A YouTube video? You can like so.
Like and subscribe. Yeah. No, but in all seriousness, like how Robot Wars survived last time
Yeah.
was the support those shows have
Yeah,
shown.
20 years down the line, we might get a new series, kids.
Hey, it happened once before. It happened once before.
Great.
It can happen. I wasn't there years ago, but from what I've heard, that's what kept it alive. Genuinely,
Yeah,
the live
stories,
events,
yeah.
the live scene kept it
I'm not
going.
sure Tom was born before the
And the
last
Dutch.
series came out.
The Dutch kept it alive.
And,
and all.
yeah.
and the Dutch,
Yeah.
and I guess and
Shout out to Big Jerome,
and,
Jerome, we want you.
and
Uncle Jerome.
and the Americans, of course.
Yeah.
they took part.
Yeah.
No, they did. As you might know, we've done BattleBots for the last couple of years with Monsoon and Predator and Ragnarok. So right now, Monsoon is currently sitting in my garage.
Which one?
Which
Hurrah.
so this is Monsoon Mark III. So Monsoon Mark III was completed for March when the original filming was going to take place, and since it's been delayed, it's just kind of been sitting there, and in between moves it's gone to a new garage, and today Rory and I were working on it. We've upgraded the drive motors.
I was working on other things.
Tim was busy elsewhere, of course, but we're more or less ready to go now. Really, that's the thing.
We now have bigger drive motors in it.
There are
We do,
things
we
we
do.
have to consider now that we didn't
Yeah,
before.
so the main...
Like flights are a nightmare.
So, cards on the table, the issue for us and other UK teams right now is the fact that, number one, the government are advising us that we cannot travel to the US. And by all means, we want to go out there. We want to go out there and put on the best show we can.
I mean, we're still currently one of the best performing Brits out there easily.
I mean, if we're going on the road.
If we're going on
I mean,
rankings,
we are
Oh,
the modern battle.
in modern BattleBots, yeah.
You know,
with the glass cannon that was Monsoon Mark 1. Well, on the bank stop. Well, that was enough to kill it.
that was well, that did the job.
That was a good old goose.
Yeah.
But yeah, we want to put on the best show we can when we can and when it is safe
With our robot built of cable ties and spit.
with the
We've
road.
got the three, all three of us together on Series 10, all three of us together now for this.
It is funny how things have gone with Concussion, Nuts, and Tauren evolving into Monsoon, Tauren. I guess at this point it's Tauren Mark 5. I don't know.
It's Monsoon Mark 3.
Yeah, Monsoon Mark 3.
It's a lot of robots.
It's a lot. But the thing is,
That's the summary of the sport from Rory Mangles.
It's a lot of robots,
It's a lot
people.
of robots.
by this point, it's had input from a lot of people. It's had Rory poking me to make it brushless.
There's so many things wrong with it this year.
It's had Tim poking me to make it reliable and better on the wiring.
Inhaling inhuman amounts of solder.
That's
fumes.
your own
That
fault.
day, I hotboxed myself. You came in and was
How
like,
many years have you been soldering, Tim, now? Does solder give off fumes, Tim? You might want to open the window. Nah, you know what, it's
I
fine.
stood up
You know-
and then instantly sat down. I was like, I ain't good.
That's a lot of fumes.
That's a lot of food.
For reference, Tim's been a wireman for many years. He knows that solder gives off really strong fumes. If you shut yourself in a room and then solder for like
With no windows
12
open.
hours straight
Yeah.
with no ventilation,
Uh,
what happens, Tim? Oh, it's bad
Start
things.
humming the Friends theme tune
Bad
when
thing.
you're asleep.
Yeah, great, good.
we want to go for sure. Don't ever get us wrong on that. We love BattleBots.
Yeah.
We love Robot
They
Wars.
gave us the platform to shine.
They did. And
And we've also spent 18 grand on the robot.
I honestly,
why would we not?
I honestly feel like our personalities come out best when we're all together and on a big platform
The
like
bromance
BattleBots.
is...
It is. No, it is. It
There's a
is.
subtle bromance with Rory that's not necessarily seen on the big screen.
I
And then
feel
there's
like
the flashy
I
bromance.
feel like a side of Rory that you don't normally see.
the backside.
The backside.
Oh, too much put.
No, we love BattleBots and Rebel Wars,
Custard.
and
Sick.
yeah, we'll see you there when it's broadcast.
We'll see you there.
For people that are wondering, we were planning on having more episodes out by this point.
Oh, yeah.
We were going to be recording people at BattleBots and releasing them
Yeah.
monthly at least, I think.
But we want the personal touch of like the way
Yeah.
you interact with someone in person is so different to
Yeah.
over the phone.
Arguably, 4 glasses of vodka and 5 beers makes for more of a podcast than we were expecting.
I feel very
more of a
chatty.
car
I
crash.
don't know
than a
about you.
car
No,
crash.
it's fine. It's fine.
I'm
But we
pretty
got there
much
in
the
the
same as I normally am.
Tim's had 1 cup of tea because his
Cup
gone
of tea.
healthy apparently. But yes.
So we like
Tim is a massive
we like
regardless of
we
the
like
alcohol,
in quotation
so-
marks interviewing people in person and in a much more casual setting.
Yeah.
If we can help it, we don't really want to do it over Skype. So that's another
That's
reason
why we haven't released anything.
That's it. That's another reason why we haven't
We're
released
old-fashioned.
anything. We like to speak to people in person,
Yeah.
and now that the UK lockdown laws are starting to alleviate a bit, we're able to speak a bit more in person. And
Yeah, it's we're looking now to the next coming month and thinking about what we could do. And yeah.
Yep.
Keep your ear to the grindstone.
yes.
No, that sounds painful.
We have some names in mind, and we'll be reaching out.
And if anybody
I think.
does want to come on the podcast,
Yeah.
you're welcome to ask us about it. Don't be offended if we say no, but you're welcome to ask.
We'll supply the tea,
We'll supply the tea.
the special tea.
2 of the teas.
Right, wrap this up. I want a pork pie.
2 mugs of tea.
Podcast.
Should we do it? Should we sign out?
Should we stand out together?
Okay, so I have been. Who have I been, Rory?
Saucy.
I've been Tom Brewster of teams Monsoon and Tauren.
I've been the Tim Rackers.
And I've also been here.
Rory has taken part.
Been
I am
present.
helping.
I'm helping.
This has been episode 2 of the 2 Mugs of
Tea
And we say...
What?